It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Whether or not in Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
I don't mean to sound alarmist, but most of what they let you read is garbage. Most of it's designed to warp our minds until subconsciously you find you'll take the time to lick their boots free of grime and wipe their minds free of tarnish. Oil is the centerpiece, a body count of millions is the garnish. So how's it feel to know we funded every carcass? That every year our taxes pay for carpet bombing Gaza under shroud of darkness? Or that we spend enough a year to house and feed each homeless person in the streets on turning families in apartment buildings in the Middle East to bloody craters full of charred garments? And our media is silent at best. At worst, they can find it in themselves to call war crimes clashes and label children burned to ashes terrorists who played a stupid game and reaped the harvest. And every time we try to paint the truth, the news sends their slugs to suck off all the varnish and distort it into something harmless. See, the media will hang you by your feet and keep you half asleep. So yes, I'm here to set you free, but freedom won't be sweet because you'll fall 1,000 feet when I come cut you out your harness. They say those who dream the deepest fall the farthest. They also say that home is where the heart is. But if home for you is Gaza, Netanyahu's got you painted as a target. Perhaps it's not the impact, but it's what you see when falling that will hit the hardest. Maybe it's the sound of all those children crying out in those apartments that will hit the hardest. Maybe all those little bodies scattered in the dirt will hit the hardest. Maybe seeing human lives assigned such little worth will hit the hardest. Maybe it's the knowledge that you're paying for the darkest of atrocities committed on this earth that will hit the hardest. Maybe it's the knowledge that we give 10 million a day to oppressors who possess the kind of Medicare you'll die in debt before you see that's gonna hit the hardest. Maybe then you'll see you've always had more in common with the commoners whose slaughter we fund every day in Gaza than our senators and bosses. Maybe then you'll see our country never had a conscience. Maybe then the retroactive guilt will make you nauseous. Maybe what hits harder than the impact is the act of being conscious, of knowing your complicity and helplessness to try and stop the bloody deeds of Congress. And that no matter who's in office, America preserves its foreign interests by whatever means its greed demands, however monstrous. You see, we'll always need a place to train our Contras. And Biden's got a backup plan should harm befall the Holy Land. Wipe it off the map, he'll draw it back on with an iron hand. He demands an Israel or reasonable effigy to exercise democracy and colonize the Middle East. Regardless of the human cost of phosphorus atrocities, bought and paid with money they rerouted out the budget for the non-essential things like ever making Flint's water clean. So maybe what hits hardest is the day you see this country for its actual priorities, and never more no honest peace attempting sleep. Maybe then you'll look at politicians making speeches like a blood-encrusted beast espousing destiny to empty seats and fellow leeches. As the gauntlet of democracy extends its brutal reach, like a giant wave of trash come to crash on foreign beaches. Maybe build a base, throw a flag down and heavily pollute the region. Rape your ecosystems, gut your fauna and congratulate you on your new allegiance. Oops, we mean alliance. This is something mutual unless you're non-compliant. We stole something crucial on which you can be reliant. So maybe what hits hardest is the centrists saying both sides need to stop the violence. And those would be the very same centrists saying we should all accept police brutality, who hem and haw and clutch their fucking pearls and spend their time condemning riots. But very soon will come the day the centrists all get censored like the rest of us, and pious as they'll try to be, they won't stay quiet. But they'll just end up shouting in the void that they were also quick to render us subscribers. And it will be too late to light the fires. So far away tonight, they burn the spires of a region set ablaze for which you've paid for every pyre. Which is why your checks weren't all $600 higher. And call it foreign interests or American desires. This is why your checks weren't all $600 higher. Far away tonight there burn the spires of a region set ablaze for which you've paid for every pyre. Call it foreign interests or American desires. This is why your checks weren't all $600 higher. It will be too late to light the fires.
Brother will kill brother, spilling blood across the land. Killing for religion, something I don't understand. Fools like me who cross the sea and come to foreign lands. Ask the sheep for their beliefs. Do you kill on God's command? Country that's divided surely will not stand. My pastor raised no more disgrace, the foolish naive stand. The end is near, it's crystal clear, part of the master plan. Don't look now to Israel, it might be your homeland. Holy war.
In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, we did some things that were wrong. We did a whole lot of things that were right.
We've taken control of the oil in the Middle East, the oil that we're talking about.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create.
We choose truth over facts.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. The foothills of the Himalayas.
Television. We are fighting Satan himself.
Journalists, ask them the question! Ask them! Ask them! Ask them!
Agreed that everybody wants they inside they should. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry. America's dead.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on a new Politically Homeless. Got a lot going on, as you guys probably already familiar with. How are you doing today?
More Middle East happenings.
What's that?
We were taking more or less more Middle East happening. But I want to frame this today mostly in the sense of like when we're talking about news. A lot of it is actually like sort of negative and like kind of like doomy and like doomery. And I'm seeing like a lot of that actually at other channels too. So I think.
I see a lot of hope actually from this. So that's kind of where I'm.
That's what I'm saying. I want to view this as kind of like a victory for.
Yeah. I think for a lot of our...
Really like a geopolitical shift towards a more...
we've been talking about that stuff in our previous shows anyway, as far as like BRICS and multipolarity and stuff like that. But as I'm sure a lot of our regulars know, is that like, we have solidarity for, liberation struggles across the world. And obviously with what's going on in Palestine right now, we are on the side of the oppressed, not the oppressors. So, with everything that's taking place, and we're going to go over tonight, we're coming from a place of hope because we don't really want to see colonist apartheid state exist anymore.
I've seen people saying like, and we're getting into it tonight, like sort of like this like semi-conspiracy that this like actually like a false flag by like, and there's a lot of people that are severely underestimating Hamas intelligence. And where, I mean, do you want to get right into it, and then, or like when you?
Well, do we want to? I mean, do we want to? Let's because it just happened. I feel like we should talk about it for at least a second. With the RFK's announcement, you want to just like touch upon it, just because here's the thing, and it's like it's almost ironic to me how the Palestine Resistance rebellion happened at almost the same time as RFK chose to run independent, and like we've had a very consistent take on RFK, and so seeing how he's reacted to the conflict in Palestine, just like totally like, you know, politically homeless, one RFK zero, like we were completely right about that. So if you want, do you want to start with RFK's terrible take on Palestine, just to kind of go from there?
No, we'll set up. Well, I mean, people are already like fairly familiar with this Palestine take. Is Israel is like shilling Israel. So let's start with his.
Okay. I mean, I even woke up early I was just like not. It really wasn't. It was so establishment.
So the people who are running for president now, they're now parodying themselves, their ego. This is how they think of themselves.
Do you need to put on the sound? Oh, this is the Rocky thing. Yeah, that's right. You know, there's no sound. Still no sound. Kind of missing the. Is your video muted?
No one cared about it. No one really. This was the biggest nothing burger I've ever like. He prepped this up for how long? Like weeks, right? Didn't he? I don't understand.
Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 weeks where he kind of said that there was like an announcement coming, and people thought briefly that he might go libertarian, and I think people kind of knew that he was eventually going to run independent because the Democrats weren't going to let him participate in debates or primaries. So, I mean, it's like, I think we kind of knew that this was coming. Yeah, Mastermind, he actually announced it this morning or this afternoon, I guess, in Philly.
No, but he already said that, like, it was already in the talks that he was going to go independent. There was already like not like.
I mean, it was already pretty much known. It was just, I think, the only.
So this was like a really worthless thing I've ever seen, probably like in a long time. I didn't watch all.
I mean, honestly, I woke up to listen to like the first 30 minutes, 35 minutes. I'm like, he's just. He said most of the stuff that we already know. Yeah, he's like, on the one hand, he's like, we need. Huh? I didn't even watch the whole thing. I watched like 35 minutes of it, and I was like, he just sounds like an establishment mouthpiece, or he sounds like what he sounds like actually is kind of like a combination of Bernie and Trump, just like a really kind of like milquetoast average like populist message, and like, you know, we got to get corporate money out of politics. We got to like, you know, medical freedom, blah blah blah, just the stuff that, you know, throughout COVID and all this stuff that he took the side on, he was kind of latching onto that stuff. As much as I listened, he didn't say anything about the conflict, the Israel-Palestine conflict. He did make an effort to thank Amaryllis, who is his CIA daughter-in-law, for co-managing his campaign. So that's a little sus in and of itself. But, you know, we actually had a video months ago when RFK first announced his campaign that we thought his connections to the deep state were a little problematic. So, again, really no surprise there.
Right now, there's no Israel, Gaza, no.
Nope.
So he didn't even mention any of those, not even one time. This whole entire thing.
He completely avoided it because.
he knows that this is a week, so he's just taking it, I guess. But okay.
I mean, that's exactly what's happening. I think he's just going to coast and try and say as little about it as possible. So, it's just one of those things where, for me, and I don't vote anyway because these guys are all the same to me. But like, maybe 4 or 8 years ago when Bernie was running in 2016 and 2020, social issues were more important to me. And you could get away with talking about, education or healthcare or, affordable housing, whatever. You could go and use those talking points. But, in the last 2-3 years or so, I feel like war is the most existential threat to us and the most palpable threat to every man, woman, and child on this planet. So if any candidate isn't if I'm detecting any sort of influence from intelligence community, the deep state, military industrial complex, you're disqualified in my book. I can't deal with that. Because I think that, especially with the powder keg that's going on in Palestine, you wouldn't want somebody like RFK in the driver's seat of that, because we would probably be launching fucking missiles in fucking Gaza. That's not who I'd want for president. So yeah, I mean, I would say as far as that's concerned, RFK was incredibly predictable. Let's see. So, the only things I really want to say. So it's 33 minutes in, he makes the official announcement.
Wait, this is not worth. So what? 21.
You can listen. Yeah, you can listen to the beginning if you want. It's sort of he gives it. I said, it was kind of funny that he mentions.
I'm not willing to listen to this clown. Let's just. I already saw
there really isn't that much there because he's you can play it from about 33:20. Mm-hmm.
We're getting that froze.
Declare myself an independent candidate. An independent candidate for president of the United States. That's not all. I'm here to join you in making a new declaration of independence for our entire nation.
Sure you are.
We declare independence from the corporations that have hijacked our government. And we declare independence from Wall Street, from big tech, from big pharma, from big ag, from military contractors, and the lobbyists. And we declare independence from the mercenary media that is here to fortify all of the orthodoxies from their advertisers and to urge us to hate our neighbors and to fear our friends.
It's the guy who wants to turn Gaza into a parking lot.
We declare independence from the cynical elites who betray our hope and who amplify our divisions. And finally, we declare independence from the two political parties.
Doesn't mean anything.
And the corrupt interests that dominate them and the entire rigged system of rage, of corruption, of lies that has turned government officials into indentured servants for their corporate bosses. We declare independence from these corrupting powers because they are incompatible with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Honestly, that's probably enough there. You kind of get the picture, right?
Ratified for us in 1786, 1788. How we can guard life, how can we, when the for-profit corporations captured the public agencies that are supposed to protect us?
When did the Democratic, it's very painful for me to believe the dead guard.
Oh, I don't know. I was trying to search that and I couldn't find it, but yeah, he's basically he basically like commiserate, like, you know, pretends to feel a little bit sorry that he's having to kind of like leave the Democrat
I haven't
Party.
made this decision lightly. It's for me to let go of the party of my uncles, my father, my grandfather, and both of my great-grandfathers, Honey Fitzgerald,
admitting it's a dynasty,
and Patrick, who was the first Irish Catholic ghetto mayor of Boston, and Patrick Kennedy, who was a ward boss in Boston. Both of them launched our
Joe Kennedy was a bootlegger, like mafia.
dynasty over 100 years ago. But my sacrifice is nothing compared to the risk our founding fathers took when they signed the Declaration of Independence 247 years ago.
Okay, all right, we're done listening to this clown.
Yeah.
Honestly, so he does have the money now that he's going independent. It's not like Cornell, where Cornell he's pretty much broke. He's not going to be on it like barely ballots.
Cornell's running a messaging campaign. He's not.
He knows he's probably negative in the polls, right? And then RFK might be able to like buy some ballots, but his ever since that he like came out like as like president of Israel, that's literally what this was. I mean, like he never really gave people promise on that. He ditched the Max Blumenthal interview. So what people, if like, how are people supposed to trust him when he's saying that shit like, oh, I want to bomb the fuck out of Gaza for what they're doing? Which we're gonna. I mean,
because like we know people who, it's kind of like what I was saying in the beginning. Like we know people who just have different priorities. You know, for me, if you're not like willing to reject, you know, Israel's apartheid, you're not willing to reject, you know, standard military-industrial complex narratives, then like you're never going to get my vote. You know, but for some people, they see RFK as somebody who can bring people together, you know, who were otherwise, you know, divided amongst themselves. So some people kind of.
There was a time where you could say that, but like I don't feel like that's much true anymore.
I mean, I'm with you on that. I don't think. I mean, you could call me a single issue person at this point, as far as war is concerned.
He's quitting and he's running for president of Israel right now.
I mean, if you want, you could play that JD clip really quick because it's going to tie into freaking Israel, because he literally talks about how that like IDF never targets civilians on purpose, and then like we have footage of them doing the exact opposite. So, you know, again, it just kind of ties in that the man, like, he might have some good takes as far as you know, medical freedom and stuff like that, but like hearing him kind of regurgitate military industrial complex talking points is not good. It shows lack of
gays.
He says like thinking. I remember him saying like that he doesn't like deliberately target children or anything like that.
It should say something like Israel military, like one of the lines.
Yeah, military policy.
Yeah, start from the beginning. Good. Where it says Israel military.
Pride parade 2 weeks ago in Israel. Well,
yep.
but not never deliberately.
Oh, yes.
Oh, in war, listen.
Yes,
war,
that's not true.
Yeah, it is. Israel,
of course
the
it's
IDF,
true.
listen, the IDF, you know, Colonel Camp was one of the top military experts in the world.
I've covered these stories.
Well, I understand. and maybe somebody, I'm a policy. Of course, in war, stuff happens. And you may have individuals who kill a reporter, who do something like that. But the policy of the Israeli military is always only to attack military targets. Now, of course, that doesn't always happen. But let me tell you this.
This is not
disgusting.
So like a little lesson on Israeli propaganda. They call it Hasbara, right? Hasbara.
For Hasbara? What do you mean?
The Israeli term for propaganda. They call it Hasbara.
Oh. I wasn't familiar with that.
Very like his rhetoric is very like old like Zionist talking points, like shit you can't say anymore, like shit like that everybody recognizes at this point. Like this is why this is the shit like this is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Like he has like the stuff that was a little bit controversial like 10 years ago that like Israel just has like been completely masked off. That like stuff like calling Israel an apartheid state is not really controversial in 2023 anymore. But
No,
for RFK, it's still controversial.
Yeah.
But
A
yeah,
little-
so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Well, go ahead.
But yeah, he's like, it's just you know, it's hard to trust RFK when he can be on the right side of history as far as like stuff with like what happened with the mandates and everything over the last few years, and you know, those sort of issues, and then sound like he just came out of a freaking, you know, IDF training seminar in freaking Tel Aviv and expect us to like believe him and trust him. Like, that just shows such a lack of critical thinking from him. That, you know, and the other thing in his speech, he talks about how it's like, we need to stop being like controlled by lobbyists, when obviously that man is controlled by the ADL. Obviously,
he's
like,
yeah, and he's like tons of super PAC money. Yeah, he's like a billionaire bullshitter like the rest of them.
Yeah, so it's just, it's unfortunate, but you know what? Like, I think some people are gonna come around. It's just, you know, of course.
Well, now they are. Now that this is blowing up in their face, like suddenly all the like, you know, the RFK Jr. supporters are starting to become like really quiet after this. You notice like how
what
like
can you say?
a lot of them are like, oh shit, this is bigger than I thought.
It's like, just think,
That's
like,
the thing. Like a lot of people forgot about.
well, then it's good that we're going to be showing a lot of multimedia with Israel, but it just it's really, I guess that's a good point there. Like, maybe people never thought that like a conflict could erupt during a presidency, or just thought it was like incredibly unlikely. Where I was always of the opinion where I was like, oh shit, if RFK became president, all he would need is like some Israel lobby to start like kind of like elbowing him in the gut and being like, hey, let's drop some bombs together, and then he's on, because the guy clearly is like completely brainwashed.
But when you fund Israel, it's like it's not just Israel. It's Lebanon, it's Syria.
Yeah,
well, you're not like funding those.
And we'll get into that, but it's like a huge multi-country conflict now. So, you know, the idea that you know, we'd be protected in this situation under an RFK presidency, I think is very short-sighted. I think that's why I thought he was like the most dangerous candidate, because he was so easily influenced by those really kind of old school talking points, you know, Zionist talking points.
Either way, I think this is really unprecedented, at least in my lifetime. Do you remember anything happening like this?
As far as what's happening right now, Al-Aqsa flood, this is like completely unprecedented.
Like not even 2014, like this, nothing surprised you?
I mean, as far as, what do you mean? As far as what's going on in Palestine?
Yeah, like, is it like anything that's like?
No, I mean, there was the peaceful demonstration. Well, peaceful for the Palestinians. There was a peaceful demonstration in what, 2019, or I don't know, the March of Return, the Walk of Return, where they were like just trying to walk out, and they were like, Israeli snipers were just shooting them, like, was it hundreds or thousands of them?
Empire Files is a great documentary.
But no, there's been nothing really in our lifetime of anything. As there was, I think there was one, I think around 2014 or something like that, where IDF stormed Gaza and got their asses handed to them. But other than that, there hasn't been any sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Land dispute that we're seeing, you know, because they're already all the way to West Bank. You know, so if they're all the way, you know, then you have like Lebanon freaking attacking them from the north. So it's definitely nothing like this. But you're like, I was having dinner earlier, and I had to come upstairs in my room just because like they're watching MSNBC downstairs, and they don't have a clue of what's going on. Not a clue.
Oh my gosh, you have to like. You ever try red pilling like family members?
Can't do it. Like, what am I supposed to say? They're getting told that. They're being told the whole human shield shit, and like the raping and murdering and all that stuff. And then like, meanwhile, they'll see IDF dropping, carpet bombing Gaza, and still think that like Hamas is the bad guy in this situation. Like, how do you get through to that? So I don't know. I have to just like separate myself, because I'm just like, no. All I hear myself is saying is like, okay, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. I got to get out of here before I make my mom angry.
And my parents, I'm not even Jewish. Like, there's like people who are completely lost in the Israel situation just because their entire life they've been told this. And, like, I can't.
I mean, it's as far as like the propaganda machine is concerned, like obviously the narrative surrounding Israel and Zionism is like very, very, very carefully and meticulously maintained. Like that's a very core part of the American ideology is our, unwavering support for Israel. And I mean, I kind of talked to you about yesterday. It's like one of the things.
So it's there's the first song that was played in the intro. If you go back, it's the Jesse Jess song where it plays the Biden.
Yeah.
Like if the Middle East didn't have an Israel,
they'd
make
have
one.
To invent Israel. Yeah, Biden said that.
Like this is a conflict that's been going on for several years. This is something that's been kind of, journalists have literally dedicated their entire careers to this single conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 75 year long thing just to get people a little bit re-educated. Here's a little clip from the Empire Files documentary, which is great.
Yeah.
Right.
Gaza Strip is only 25 miles long and about 5 miles wide. 2 million Palestinians live packed into this tiny space, one of the most densely populated places in the world. Half are children. Many live in refugee camps speckled throughout the besieged territory. A stunning 80% of the population relies on foreign aid. Aptly called an open-air prison, there are only 2 ways to leave the enclosed area: the Erez crossing into Israeli territory, and the Rafah crossing, which goes to Egypt. Both are completely controlled by hostile militaries. What Israel calls...
It's not even that. So they are the most high-tech army in the world. They have sensor machine guns that will literally they'll kill you as soon as you come anywhere.
They have automated guns that'll just
you can't leave. You can't leave, and you cannot enter, and you cannot leave.
A border.
It's literally like a hell on.
Well, and that's another thing that we'll get into is that one of the arguments you see from freaking trolls and idiots is the argument oh well, before IDF carpet bombed everybody, they told them to leave. Where are they gonna go? They're in an open air prison. Where are they gonna go? It's the most densely populated place on the planet. Where are they gonna go? It's just, again, so brainless. But yeah.
And a lot of people in Israel not even from that area. A lot of them are Polish or German or.
Well, it's you see the videos of everybody fleeing the settlements outside of Gaza, and it's normally refugees don't have the resources to just hop on an airplane and go back to their primary residence, secondary residence.
Yeah, is actually a heavily militarized perimeter fence comprised of barbed wire, surveillance networks, and lethal no-go zones. If you roam too close to the so-called no-go zone, which extends 300 meters out from the fence, Israeli forces have authorized themselves to shoot to kill. Thousands of unarmed Palestinians have been shot for violating this rule in 2018 alone. The same goes for Gaza's coastline. It is the only place in the world where you can't even flee by boat, as refugees elsewhere often do. Fishermen are restricted to only a few nautical miles from their shore. Straying past that, even by accident, you can be blown out of the water by Israeli warships. A massive seawall in the north and south, currently being extended, boxes them into their small sliver of sea. This violence is compounded by an economic blockade that imposes a chokehold of poverty on Gaza, resulting in one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, according to the World Bank.
It's the most unemployed place in the world.
Yeah, it's over 50%, I think.
It's over 50. It's over half the population doesn't have a job.
Yeah, so it's 50%
so
of
you're not making any money. I don't know what.
60-something% of all citizens. The map I just posted, I shared with you in the private chat. So in case people aren't familiar with what the lines have looked like over the last century, give or take, this is just a really kind of very, very, very high level kind of history lesson. So you can kind of see that Israel didn't even exist. You know, one of the arguments you'll hear is that people try and say that Israel has claim to the land, and they never did. Okay, it was straight up.
No, where's that? There's that National Geographic map where it shows Palestine.
Oh, the old one. I gotta look for that, but I think that was I think Medhurst maybe had that one. But the reality is that, you know, basically there was the 6-Day War, and that's where you ended up with kind of like what was around 1940 or 1949, and then since then, you know, Israel has just been doing the illegal settlements and occupation, and you know, relegating everybody to West Bank and the Gaza Strip. You know, now that being said, I know if you said you want to do a little bit of a history, this does kind of tie in. Do you want to pull up that Ben Norton video, and we can just go over some of that stuff, because that kind of gives some good background on why. Oh, there it is. Cool, you found it.
Yeah, this is the National Geographic.
Yeah, do you see Israel on that?
There's no Israel.
There's no Israel.
There's no Israel. So
like that's, yeah, I mean, something to keep in mind is that like literally Israel is a European colony. It's not an indigenous, you know, I feel like I'm at the risk of sounding like as like an anti-Semite because I'm like speaking truth right now. But the reality is that like Israel is a bunch of white European colonists. It's not indigenous people.
It's fake. It shouldn't exist.
So
that shouldn't be controversial.
It shouldn't be controversial at all. But you know, people who don't understand what colonialism is.
When people like, Zionists like want to look me in the eye. They want to, or you know, I'm saying figuratively, but like, well, sometimes literally actually, but like, saying to me like, so you just want to get rid of Israel? You just want to eliminate Israel? Yes, motherfucker. Yes.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Go somewhere else. It's not yours.
It's just, yeah. I mean, and that's not.
Sorry.
And as we'll show in the Ben Norton
that's not
video.
Anti-Semitic. That's not genocidal. That's the reality.
Well, and that's the thing is that's another important thing to keep in mind, which goes into Ben's video as well. But that the conflict is not a religious conflict; it's a political conflict. It's a land dispute.
Judaism is not,
you know. And also the thing to keep in mind is that there are Jewish and Christian Arabs. You know, there's Muslim Arabs. So the idea that it's like a monolithic religious conflict is just not true. You know, there's because there's multiple ideologies within the.
There's videos of when we were outside. You know, we went to the Shmuley event here in New York, and a Jewish Voice for Peace was outside, and I forgot his name. I wish I did, but like, you know, there's groups and organizations that are, you know, really trying to get across this idea to normal, everyday, you know, practicing faith people that, you know, your religion doesn't have to be tied to this sick terrorist state that is literally sniping kids off the border.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is a sick joke. Watch this, Rabbi. Be more like this, Rabbi.
As a Jewish rabbi, I find it very important to come to the Al-Quds March, what is going on every year. Zionism is a rebellion against the Almighty, who sent Jewish people in exile to stay in exile, not to rebel against the nations, not to take over the Holy Land by force. Zionism is against every aspect of humanity, where they're robbing away, and they kill so many Palestinians, and constantly up to today's day, every day are Palestinians killed for nothing. They rob away the land from them. This wrong should be rectified. We are not supporting a two-state solution at all. If somebody takes over, rob away someone else's house, and then come out, oh, I'm looking for peace. I want to make the house half and half. I mean, what's peace in that? First thing is, if you want peace, give back the house. And the same thing here, from the river to the sea, should go back for the Palestinians in full. And then we can live in peace, Jews, Muslims, all other people together. The Zionists say they have to protect Jews from anti-Semitism, not to be another Holocaust. The truth is exactly the opposite. Zionism is only raising anti-Semitism in the world today. They endanger Jewish people all over the world. The only way to bring peace over the world is that the state of Israel should come to an end, and a peaceful end. Nobody looks for bloodshed. We hope and we pray to God to be soon in our days, and then we can live in Palestine together with Palestinians like we lived for centuries together, and like we live in all the Muslim countries.
Yeah, so that's he actually brings up a good point right there, because I think one of the things that's integral to kind of perpetuating this idea that Zionism is a legitimate I don't know, what would you call it, like legitimate political ideology, whatever. It's not really a religious ideology, but they use religion as a way to kind of prop it up, because without religion, they can't call people anti-Semites for not supporting Zionism, so they kind of like, I don't know, like religion.
Well, most religious wars are manufactured in the first place.
What's that?
So most religious wars are manufactured in the first place. I mean, you can even see that with like World War I.
Well, what's the like expression? All wars are banker wars. So
all wars are banker wars. That's actually a Pasta thing.
That was Pasta's thing.
No. The Pasta says this in like a speech, and he's quoting like a book from someone else, and I don't know what. I remember Pasta like typically referencing it.
You can see
if someone can remember that quote, what book that's from. I don't remember. But here's a video. He said, like, a lot of what this rabbi explained was like, how can you just come in and take my home? Like, is this peaceful? Is this something that like a morally, like, religious, just person would do? Just think about this concept morally and ethically.
Hey, man, this is actually my place. Well, me and my family have lived here for generations. Who told you that? This ancient book of made-up stories. Would you be happy enough just to piss off or die? No. All right, calm down. God, you're so confrontational. Plan B, let's share. How could that possibly work? I get the house, you get the shed? Are you kidding me? I get a few guns, alarms, a few cameras to keep an eye on you, and obviously nothing gets in or out, including yourself, without my say-so. But yeah, I think I'm willing to compromise on this. What the hell are you doing? Defending myself and my home? Oh, why are you so violent and angry? He just kicked me out of my house. Where were you for that part of the story? What's the headline here? Housing dispute? Conflict? I'll just put, it's complicated. New owner seeks peaceful house shed resolution with terrifying legacy tenant. All happy? I don't feel safe in my own home I just stole.
That's the common line. That's like pretty much where the war on terrorism began, right?
And that's not even that much of a parody. Like, that's pretty much.
You don't really have the war on terror. You don't really even have the war on terror and all this like decades of militant horrific history without Israel. You simply don't. It is quite literally the proxy of like all of our involvement.
Well, what is it? I didn't look too much into it, but isn't Israel kind of responsible for ISIS getting started? They're kind of responsible for Hamas getting started. Like, so, yes. There is a lot of, I don't like labeling these groups terrorists, because I think that's just sort of like a charged up phrase. But yeah, like you can make the argument that these violent groups kind of came about as a result of Zionist policy in the Middle East. So it's kind of it's like they're definitely reaping what they're sowing right now. I'll put it that way.
Israel lies about literally everything. It's not even close.
Well, they have to. Zionism really has no bearing. It has like
it used to have a little bit, but it's like at the point where, and that's why you're seeing this explode now, because you cannot possibly hold on to this much longer. This was a boiling pot.
Mm-hmm.
waiting to happen. I mean, I heard Max Blumenthal say that he's actually not surprised that this happened. So I mean,
here's the thing: as we know, we just know from being informed about kind of how like with revolutionary theory and whatnot, that like there comes a point where you oppress a group long enough, they're eventually going to have the means and the willpower to fight. You know, so in that way, yeah, like a tremendous conflict was in the making for, you know, going on 80 years or so, and more specifically within the last 15 or so. But you know, I do think that I would agree with Max that like it was definitely in the cards for something like this was coming. But it's like, and we'll get into it where, you know, some people try and argue that this was allowed to happen, and I push back pretty hard on that. You know, because like you said, what Max said is like, you know, what this sort of thing was going to happen. They were going to have the means and the will eventually.
And I also thought that you made a great point. So we're going to pull up this trailer video that Hamas made. And let me say, the production value on this video is so incredible. I cannot believe, like, this
is straight up Hamas propaganda, guys. So just like going to that, knowing
this is Hamas propaganda. We're gonna play Hamas propaganda for you, but it is so cool. I just gotta tell you that. Like, it is like it's like a Call of Duty commercial.
Well, like, and one of the things to keep in mind is that, like, I don't know if it's just me,
right,
but like prior to kind of getting informed about, you know, the Palestinian struggle and the resources that Hamas has and their connection to Iran and Lebanon, et cetera, it's very easy to kind of internalize that Hamas and Palestinian resistance fighters are just sort of like guerrillas who, you know, have old freaking M16s.
Oh, this is guerrilla warfare.
Well, I mean, but come on, this is like professional military. I wouldn't really call it guerrilla warfare.
No, so but they have like, these are actually like they make these.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they got that stuff.
And then they attach fans to them, and it's like very DIY. I know for at least the paraglide setup is very DIY.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're using fishing boats. I know they're using fishing boat. They have complex underground tunnels.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of the stuff on the tunnels. The tunnels is crazy, and that's another thing is that like
another thing that they're doing. And I forgot what the tactic specifically is called, but it's like you take a drone and then you just, instead of like dropping a massive drone bomb, which like might not even go off and it's very expensive, they just drop grenades off of planes or like drones and shit.
Oh yeah,
and then
that's what I thought they were doing. I thought they were dropping grenades. That's what I thought they were using.
Yeah, they blew up. They fucking blew up a giant.
You can see the little outposts that they've been like taking out the machine gun turrets. They've been dropping drones on them, like a Was it called Fifth Generation?
They're just dropping a grenade. That's not.
But I'm just so blown away that here we are.
برصاصي حق العودي يا غاصب هادي أرضي ما انساها رغم الشدة حنا جايين إما تترك روابيها أو أحفر قبرك فيها أرضي بالدم أحميها تحيا أرض فلسطين
أرض الإسلام جينا يا غالي علينا
لما ناديتي فينا لبى صلاح الدين عبد الحميد فداكي ما فرطتي ثراكي وبركتنا مسراكي يبقى ليوم الدين يبقى ليوم الدين نادتنا فلسطين بيضلوا المغتصبين احنا يلي بأراضينا وهم مشددين نادتنا فلسطين بيضلوا المغتصبين احنا يلي بأراضينا وهم مشددين من لبنان وسوريا ومن الضفة الغربية والأرض الأردنية من مصر العز احنا جايين جايين من غزتنا الآبية والأرض الخليجية والغرب الأوروبية والله ما نبقى لاجئين.
So I just want to say something that, like, watching the video, you can see that a lot of the video, the person who was like filming, maybe they had like a sidearm or they had like a holstered gun or something, but it looks to me like they have professional camera crew following around Hamas. So from my point of view, I see the fact that they're putting so much energy into production and making sure that they capture history, that they see what's happening right now as like a pretty fucking big deal.
They're serious about
yeah,
this.
like
They're
it's
very,
no
very
fucking joke.
For all the people who are like undermining like their capabilities and being like, oh, like they're gonna fucking rue the shit out of Gaza. They're gonna fucking blow it to smithereens. Lebanon will invade them. Iran will
Syria,
nuke the fuck out of them.
Iran.
They cannot, like, as much damage as they do to like Gaza, they can only tolerate so much to the point where the other countries are already involved.
Well, here's the other thing that people are missing, and it's like, I just started learning about the tunnels and stuff recently, but like this is another reason why a ground game in Gaza ends with IDF defeat anyway, because Gaza has such a robust tunnel system that they spent decades freaking perfecting. You know, so people who aren't aware of how robust Hamas is, it's easy for them to think that they're just a bunch of, you know, regular people who have assault rifles, but that's not what's happening. They have a professional military outfit, and they are clearly the more capable outfit against IDF. You know, IDF got caught completely with their pants down. I wonder, do we have that video of everybody fleeing Sderot? But you can, yeah. So I don't know. What do you want to go to? What do you want to go to? Because we definitely.
There's just so much footage out of this. Like, I mean, do
you want to play some more of the propaganda? Let's play some more.
I've been like just blown away from all of this.
Crazy,
dude. They're like flies, and they're like a squad. Like,
it's just so crazy.
This is literally Fortnite. You cannot. This was my first thought. I was like, this is PUBG. This is literally PUBG.
And that's another thing is, like, you gotta think that they're like, this is also recruitment material. You know, here I am getting like chills down my spine that Palestine's like liberating themselves, but they're recruiting people with this. Let's just be real about it, you know. So, like, yes, the kids who are playing PUBG see this shit and they're like, oh my god.
It's crazy that they learned to do this in Gaza.
Yeah, it's freaking.
And they have the balls to do this to fly when they know their entire lives is just like, they're so dedicated to this. Well, and like you have to just give some like admiration to the passion and to what the Palestinian people are feeling right now in terms of energy. The entire world is behind them right now.
Yeah, basically.
But
I mean, besides the West, yeah, exactly. Like, we have stuff from all over the world and people showing solidarity for them.
Everyone fucking hates us. Everyone. I can tell you that. Everyone.
Well, and that goes back to another thing why I don't think that this would have ever been allowed to happen, just because it's so obvious to people paying attention that, you know, look how fast Lebanon and Hezbollah got behind Hamas. Iran supporting them, although they haven't agreed to enter the conflict yet. Syria looks like they're getting ready to enter. Taliban said that they would freaking go from Afghanistan to freaking Israel if they were allowed passage through what, Iraq? I don't know the region well enough. So there's tons of other countries that are behind Palestine, and clearly you can see that when the IDF is not confronted with just your standard like innocent civilians that they can like kick their faces in, they're completely caught with their pants down. They're defenseless, which we'll show with some of the other videos. But you can see like they captured some of these military outposts relatively easily. It looks like to me. I mean, I don't want to say easily, but like it doesn't look like they are met with very much difficult opposition. Is your sound off?
Yeah, we just turned the sound off.
Oh, okay.
There's not. It's just music. It's not really.
Okay.
Here's them with the fucking bulldozer. I want to know how they pulled this off. They hijacked the fucking bulldozer, and then they threw down this wall. This is awesome. Do you not? Oh my god!
It's so symbolic too.
How did they get their hands on this bulldozer? What the fuck?
الله أكبر. أيوة كسر روح اسعد الله أشهده يا خيبتي. الله أكبر. أيوة روح يا شباب هجموا نزل. الله أكبر.
God. So symbolic. That's just incredible to me. I get amped on seeing that because like, can you imagine being born into a prison and being told that you're never going to leave this prison, and then like these freedom fighters take out the fence and start like capturing dozens of territories outside of the prison? Like, I don't think anybody can ever imagine what it feels like to be a Palestinian who spent their entire life behind those freaking walls. What they're going through right now. So,
we have videos of this rave too, where they're.
Do you have the one with the military outpost? There is, like, I know you said that there's something. Oh, this one's funny. Sorry.
Yeah, we're just partying.
Yeah,
like
they're having a rave. Literally, like they can see the fucking walls of Gaza from this goddamn rave. Like
they're sitting outside partying in open air.
We're supposed to be empathetic to these people.
You want me to feel sorry for these people? Well, I mean, okay, I'm sorry. They're civilians.
Like they're
I don't
on the one hand, they're caught in the middle of something, and they're too stupid to be aware of the conflict that's been brewing because their heads are full of freaking mush from getting indoctrinated by Zionist propaganda for the last freaking looks like 20-25 years or so with these people.
I would put this in the same level of guiltiness as Kyle Rittenhouse, because you placed yourself in this situation. You placed yourself next to like an intolerant,
and that's kind of where I'm at.
Terrorist prison camp. Like you placed a rave right next door.
Like, and it literally right next door. Like not like in a settlement that's like 2 or 3 settlements like 10 miles away. It's literally the closest settlement to Gaza. Sderot.
Yeah, this is the same level as fuck around and find out as like on that chart. It's the same level of fuck around and find out as Kyle Rittenhouse. These people, it's just propagandized fucks going out and LARPing and celebrating victory over bullshit that only matters to the internet.
This is reaping what you sow. I'm sorry.
And it's cynical and it's pathetic and it's actually very sad and it disregards human life. So let's watch them.
Like, can you imagine, like, all these people, like, rolling on fucking Molly and on E and have no, and like are seeing these like paragliders, and they're like, oh, is this part of the event? Like, it's just amazing.
I can't believe.
Oh, I love this part. Man, it's so weird that people who lay claim to a homeland are fleeing that homeland. So weird.
You don't want to be here?
Oh, that's the... Yeah, I saw that video, and that's kind of unfortunate that looks like they took it.
No,
I mean, I know that this footage right here is what people are latching onto for like rape and murder and all that stuff. Because I haven't seen any other kind of like excessive. I mean, well, I guess it's not entirely true, but it's a war. Like, I don't know what
it's a war. You're gonna see it.
But this is like, I'm sorry, like this is like reaping what you sow. Like, if you can freaking like, you know, squint your eyes and you can make out freaking the walls of Gaza in the distance, and you think that it's like you have a clear conscience at a rave at the same time, like, you know, you're missing some brain cells. So, you know.
Yeah,
in a way, this is kind of like, natural selection kind of working itself out?
I wouldn't. I mean, this is more, and it's like kind of like why I mentioned earlier that like Max Blumenthal, like he was not surprised at all, and you shouldn't be surprised because this is like it literally is like a boiling.
I mean, what are you going to do if you're born in a prison? And you expect to spend your whole life in that prison, and you witness like multiple airstrikes coming down all the time in your homeland. Like, eventually, you're going to get radicalized. You know,
there's a lot of these people. They're at their last whims. They have no hope. They've protested several times. Every time they protest, they just get shot by.
They get shot. Yeah. They just
get shot in the head.
Summarily executed.
So there's no that. To get out of this, it's really just like a slow genocide. It's been a slow purposeful genocide. So let's listen to why there can't be peace. And the thing is that violence, when it's not necessary. When you can label it terrorism, but what this is called resistance. This isn't a terrorism. In my view,
I don't like
it would be a purposeful, intentional, malicious act against like a population or like a certain, you know, large segment of people deliberately under like a certain pretext, right?
Yeah, and also I feel like when you
just want water and electricity. That's all. That's literally like half of the things that they want.
I know.
Most of the things that they want is just basic human rights. That's it.
Sovereignty.
Food, water, shelter. That's it.
Why won't your organization engage in peace talks with the Israelis?
You don't mean exactly peace talks, you mean capitulation, surrendering.
Why not just talk?
Talk to whom?
Talk to the Israeli leaders.
That's kind of conversation between the sword and the neck, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, if there were no swords and no guns in the room, you could still talk.
No. I had never seen any talk between a colonialist case and a national liberation movement.
But despite this, why not talk?
Do it anyway.
Talk about what?
Talk about the possibility of not fighting.
Not fighting for what?
Not fighting at all, no matter what for.
Yeah, and people usually fight for something and they stop fighting for something. So you can't tell me even why should we speak about what?
Well, stop fighting.
For what or talk about stop fighting why?
Talk to stop fighting to stop the death and the misery, the destruction, the pain.
The misery and the destruction and the pain and the death of whom?
Of Palestinians, of Israelis, of Arabs.
of the Palestinian people who are uprooted, thrown in the camps, living in starvation, killed for 20 years, and forbidden to use even the name Palestinians.
They're better that way than dead, though.
Maybe to you, but to us, it's not.
Yep.
To us, to liberate our country, to have dignity, to have respect, to have our mere human rights is something as essential as life itself.
People are making good comments about how the interviewer is like completely out to lunch on understanding the nature of it, and that's a combination of probably being willfully ignorant and it's kind of like what Chomsky was saying, like with that old BBC interview where he like told the interviewer, he's like, listen, like no one thinks that you're lying or peddling an agenda, but you wouldn't be in the position that you're in if not for having the views that you have, you know. So Zionists are going to get the position to interview people and not have a clue about what the fuck's going on or what a liberation movement looks like, because that's their indoctrination. That's what they're grown up believing.
The reactions to this were really, I mean, it came swiftly, kind of like Israel, it's our best bitch, so we gotta go out there and make sure that we chill for the country in every way that we can. So if you looked at any of the tweets happening this past weekend, you'll notice like a lot of common language. It seems they kind of I guess they kind of got tired of using this for Ukraine, and so they're just recycling words now.
Oh
So
yeah, just calling it unprovoked.
you have just the unprovoked nonsense where it's the vicious
The
attack
completely
by
ahistorical freaking analysis of what's going on there on purpose. You know, like, oh, living in an open air prison for freaking decades is not a provocation. You know, depriving people of their right to have food, to have water, to like, you know, have a home that doesn't get blown up every other, you know, weekend. Like, who are the provocateurs here?
the unprovoked attacks by Hamas terrorists.
Yeah, it's like they purposely, it's like the propaganda machine like purposely tries to get ahead of it by completely having an ahistorical analysis so people don't look too far into it. Because obviously if you talk about this to somebody with you know, half a brain cell, you know, it doesn't take much to look at history and be like, oh yeah, like Zionists like totally provocated this stuff, you know. So it's just a very, very almost insultingly bad propaganda narrative, because it's so easy to freaking look over and like be informed about. You know, it's just people don't really like, people eat this shit up. People don't want to freaking like learn. It's just frustrating.
It's sort of a hypnotism in a way.
I would agree with that. It's like the safe and effective thing. You know, just say it over and over and over again until it becomes a mantra.
No. So it's the illusionary truth effect, and Caitlin Johnstone talks about this a lot.
Okay.
I feel like it's important to bring this up. Like,
illusory truth effect. That's interesting. I haven't heard that before, but I
no,
think it sounds
no,
like what I'm.
No, we talked about this.
I mean, we talk about this sort of stuff all the time.
No, this
So
is what you're referring to. The illusionary truth effect, the illusionary truth, the validity truth effect, is the tendency to believe false information to be correct after repeated exposure.
Mm-hmm.
This phenomenon was identified in the study. When the truth is assessed, people rely whether the information is in line with their understanding or if it feels familiar. The first condition is logical, as if people compare new information with what they already know to be true. Repetition makes statements easier to process relative to new, unrepeated statements, leading people to believe that the repeated conclusion is much more truthful.
Makes sense. That's why they have just this really, really small slogans, unprovoked, you know, something really simple that they can just beat into people's heads ad nauseum. So eventually they'll just sort of internalize it. Makes sense. It's kind of like the whole thing with human shields and all the other freaking right-wing extremist rhetoric we hear.
Plays a significant role in advertising, news media, and political propaganda. All your favorites.
It's so true.
So that's why they had to send out the memo, and I'm really sure that they got the memo because RFK definitely got it. He got the
memo. He got it directly from ADL.
So he got the script. The script was there. It was set for him. I mean, he's getting all the money from them, so he has to say, you know.
Do you want to read it?
This ignominious, unprovoked, barbaric attack on Israel must be met with world condemnation, like Iraq, and unequivocal. This is like George.
He sounds like crazy. He sounds crazy.
This sounds like George W. fucking Bush, like right after 9/11. I swear to God,
it really does. It sounds completely unhinged.
This is completely unhinged. This is beyond.
This is the old school. This is the old school Zionism shit that like you were talking about. Like he just has
this is worse than the Jimmy interview, in my opinion. This is worse than the Jimmy interview. This is worse than him like sucking Shmuley's dick. Like this is him outright saying that if Israel gets touched, I will blow everything up.
Right.
He's world condemnation and unequivocal support for the Jewish state's right to self-defense. We must provide Israel with whatever it needs to defend itself now. And as president, I'll make sure that our policy is unambiguous so that the enemies of Israel will think long and hard before attempting any aggression of any kind. I applaud the strong statements of the Biden White House.
Oh my God. I skimmed over that.
However, he's not happy with just the words. These scale of attacks means that it's likely that Israel will need to wage a sustained military campaign to protect its citizens. Statements of support are fine, but we must follow through unwavering, resolute, and practical action. America must stand by our ally throughout this operation and beyond as it exercises its sovereign right to self-defense.
So, and I just want to throw in there that like as I'm looking at this stuff and seeing the rhetoric and trying to kind of like read between the lines a little bit, I can't help but thinking that here's like Amaryllis, you know, ex-CIA daughter-in-law, who's his co-campaign manager or whatever, being like, oh, this is what you should say. You know, say this. You know, just feeding like RFK doesn't have a chance of having his own opinion on Israel because he's surrounded with deep state bureaucrats. You know, so like even if he did have like an interview with Max and got his ass handed to him, he would still end up having towing this line, you know, just because he's surrounded with Zionists. He's surrounded with bloodthirsty Zionists who think Gaza should be a parking lot. So
I think that's really like kind of like essential to foreign policies. Like to be, I don't know. No, I think like the situation in Israel, it's like a centerpiece to our foreign policy. It's kind of like what.
No, it's funny. It really does. It really does. It definitely glows.
So you wanted to. So
I think
everyone turned away from this guy because of his stance on Israel, and he was sucking Shmuley's.
I mean, I thought his position on Israel from the beginning was problematic. So, you know, in a way, it's good that a conflict happened before he became president, or you know, had the opportunity to become president, because
it really woke a lot of people up, in my opinion.
Dude, it's just because I think people thought that maybe like a Middle Eastern conflict wouldn't happen in the near future, and I think that's the wrong attitude.
That's why these people like they do not give a fuck about what. And I'm gonna play a clip from that Danny Heifog.
Oh, with Ali. Yeah.
People don't give a fuck about whatever the West is saying. They've been smearing them and calling them terrorists and dismissing every single death and tragedy that's been happening to them for years. And this there's a lot of people who've dedicated their careers for this who kind of just threw their hands in the air and they're feeling like, you know, it felt like a hopeless situation. There was not much going on besides more death, more tragedy. It just felt like a open hell.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I don't know how people. I guess I always thought it would be like kind of naive to think that a war could never happen in the near future. Like, something like this was always imminent, in my opinion, because, I mean, like you said with Max, like you put people in a confined space for decades, and every single person including yourself, know somebody who has died at the hands of IDF. Like, yeah, you're eventually going to want to die for your people. Like, if you know that you're stuck within four walls against your will for your entire life, you have to consider that they're in a culture where everybody is going to be like praying for the day that they're liberated. So I don't know how anybody could think that something like this was never going to happen.
You wanted to vote for, like, so people are really turned off from this guy, and we kind of lashed onto Cornel West afterwards because we kind of saw, well, that was the main reason to vote for Cornel, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, Cornel was kind of problematic for other reasons, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like, he was bad on the vaccine. We had the main deal was basically Cornel was the guy. He was like good on the issues, and he was good on on Israel. So
because he has, he's done enough in academia and as far as like his education is concerned that he has class analysis, but looks like he's completely missed it too. Like anybody who's read anything of revolutionary theory knows that like violence is unfortunately the answer, because the oppressor is never going to give up their ability to oppress you willingly. It's not like the Palestinians can be like, hey, please stop oppressing us, and the Zionists will be like, okay, we'll give you your land back. No, that's not going to happen. So everybody trying to freaking ask for, we need a ceasefire, we need peace. Like, peace comes, like, unfortunately, this is how it has to be done.
The escalation of the barbaric violence in the Middle East must stop. The vicious Israeli occupation and the ugly Palestinian retaliation results in, and I don't, so there is no one who is anti-war. There is no one.
I mean, Dela Cruz sort of,
who is both siding this.
Oh, right.
Anyone who is saying that this is not a beautiful transformation of global geopolitical policy, that it's going to change what the next 20 years looks like, is either fooling you, they're ripping you off, or they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can't both sides of it. It's like that Desmond Tutu quote. When you if you remain neutral, you end up siding with the oppressor or something like that, which is true. Like, if you're trying to both sides this, like Hamas and Israel are on even footing, you're being like disingenuous on purpose. Cornel West knows that obviously it's an unfair fight. So like he knows class analysis. It's just, anyway, it's frustrating. Unsurprising though. Like it's like I was saying in the beginning of the show. Like, part of the American identity is an unwavering support for the Zionist state of Israel. So, like, do you even think that an anti-war, anti-Zionist candidate could ever exist within the United States as it is right now? I don't think a anti-Zionist candidate could ever ascend to the White House or even in Congress. Really, is there anybody in Congress? I mean, Ilhan Omar kind of like speaks a little bit to the Palestinian struggle, but like, I kind of get the impression that she's just doing lip service.
You want to read Marianne Williamson's answer?
Yeah, because she blocked me.
So this pretty much anything saying, I get it, but now, not today. I just want to grieve.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to argue. I don't want to take a position or argue policy. I just want to grieve. I grieve for the Israeli children and Palestinian children and Israeli parents and Palestinian parents. I grieve for the world that we could not do better than this. I grieve the fact that any sliver of hope for peace in the region is probably set back for decades, possibly even longer now. I will have much to say in the coming days about what is happening in Israel after I get my talking points and how I feel the United States should respond. For now, I stand with Israel and I stand with the Palestinian people. Again, like that's not how it works. I do not stand with Hamas, who is
we have another both sides, or
nor will I ever. But yet she like at the same time she talks shit about the Palestinian Liberation Front, Palestinian freedom fighters. Like So you support the Palestinian struggle, but you don't support how they're doing it. Like, what are they supposed to do? Ask nicely. It's so annoying how freaking ignorant on purpose they are.
You're talking about probably the most effective anti-Israel candidate we have, supposedly in Congress.
Well, that's what I mean. And she just does lip service. Do you want me to read it?
Well, it's the most vocal.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, yeah, but like that's kind of like we know the kind of like controlled opposition thing and like the rotating villain thing, so we know how that works. So Ilhan Omar, as I was saying earlier, like she's the only one who's really kind of she has been in support of BDS, but anyway, this is what she has to say. I condemn the horrific acts we are seeing unfold today in Israel against children, women, the elderly, and the unarmed people who are being slaughtered and taken hostage by Hamas. Just absolute propaganda. Such senseless violence will only repeat the back and forth cycle we've seen, which we cannot allow to continue. Okay, that's a call for violence. We need to call for de-escalation and ceasefire. This is the opposite. I will keep advocating for peace and justice throughout the Middle East. She said it has to stop, so she's going to vote for Israel bombing, like getting money to bomb the shit out of Gaza. She'll vote for that shit. So yeah, I mean, she's like I said, she's come out in support of BDS, but like she does like the bare minimum. I think in that post, I even fucking told her, I was like, oh, so you're gonna go like, are you gonna do anything but tweet about it? No, okay, cool. So you really don't care. Oh man, these are ridiculous. So the freaking all across the world, apparently they're doing the freaking blue and white in support of Israel. I've seen a few of these.
Well, I mean, this is just New York. I mean, the Israeli financial center of all their war crimes.
I saw the Eiffel Tower. They have it going. They have it in Germany as well. Yeah. So I've seen that the lights on a few different things. But yeah, it's just the extreme amount of propaganda we get bombarded with because Zionism is such a disgusting political ideology that they have to work overtime so bad with it. That it's just like when you see how obvious the propaganda is, it's like it's a real mask off moment and how badly they bombard us with this shit. It's just so disgusting to me. Oh, Mark Hamill, yeah, he decided to choose the dark side. This fucking guy, man, like. But he's had bad takes for years now.
No, he literally doesn't know what Ukraine Nazis are. Like he spoke to a Ukraine. It's a prank call thing. It's funny.
These guys, like what? Do we really need celebrities like weighing in on this crap? It's just frustrating, man. It's frustrating, and what happened? It's frustrating in itself that the propaganda machine reaches out to celebrities and they just like latch onto it no problem. Like I wonder how much duress or blackmail like Mark Hamill or whoever is going to toe the establishment line, got influenced to be able to put up these like clearly propagandistic tweets, or statements, whatever. It's just so disappointing. Again, it's just people have no idea of what's going on and just regurgitate talking points. It's like I don't know why people really care what Mark Hamill has to say anyway. It's like how people latch on to Stephen King for his like anti-Trump takes. It's like, who cares? These guys are like bourgeois celebrities who get to sit in their freaking ivory towers. They're not paid to be informed about what's going on.
And shit like this bothers me when people are like, there's people who are straight up posting Nazi pro-Hamas. Is he Jewish? I'm pretty sure he is, right?
I don't know.
That's why he's like pro-Israel. Has he always been terrible in Israel?
I
don't even know.
I'm not even that familiar with Pac-Man. So
this guy, I don't even want this on the screen for much longer. But there's been a lot better takes coming out of this. I know the EU went out of their way to show for Israel, like everyone else did, because they got the memo too. And Claire Daly, one of the only.
And she's always been super consistent with her position on Israel. She's been consistent.
She's always on the money.
Do you actually have? I think she had. Maybe you do later, but I know she has some work to say on it.
There is an older video of Claire Daly, ironically from pretty much exactly a year ago.
Yeah. Because she's been like I said, she's been consistent. She's been
here we go.
Absolutely against the kind of EU line on it. Yeah.
October 5th, 2022.
And I find it laughable that those calling for arms to Ukraine never call for arms for the people of Palestine or for the people of Yemen. Unlike you, I oppose all war. I want it stopped. I make no apology for that, and I'm not going to be scapegoated and labelled for it either. And I find it laughable that those calling for the war in Ukraine is quickly escalating into a wider horror. And from what I can see, practically nobody in this chamber is doing anything to prevent it. In fact, most people seem to get off on the fact that it's escalating. And at this precise moment, of course, as usual, the voices challenging the rush to war are attacked and silenced, smeared as traitors, cronies, Putin puppets.
What? Putin puppets, Kremlin stooges. Like, she knows all the talking points.
Not sure where apparently Nicolas Maduro had a good statement on it too. I can't find it, but
did he?
That's pretty much the only. I mean, the only besides like independent media. That's pretty much.
Ukraine is quickly escalating into a wider horror, and from what I can see, the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are you at on this? Do you want to? It could be a good transition to pull up the Ben Norton stuff. What do you want to go into? Because
hold on, I'm pulling up the.
Either way,
this is a long document. We have a lot of notes.
We have a lot of media too.
Maybe you got to structure this, Ben. Maybe we.
So let's see. Well, no. So let's go the Ben Norton stuff, because I think it's like a good time to kind of lay out why it's okay for Hamas and the Palestinians to be doing what they're doing. Ben Norton came out with this video like right after the conflict started. Yeah, Desert Man just knows. But he came out with a video right after this started, and he does an excellent job driving home some points that I want to bring up. Like, I recommend watching the whole thing because it's excellent, and he nails every single point. But for the sake of what we're doing right now, I just want to touch upon some couple really important points that Ben goes into. So mainly that the UN, expressly allows and permits armed rebellion against an occupier. Okay, and that the conflict has a political nature and not a religious nature to it. So I guess we could start from 135.
The evidence today from mainstream sources showing this.
And I also want
to play from the beginning through 135. Sorry.
We're fully aware of the money, the thief that
I'm not
We're not going to get involved in that drama.
Not trying to get involved in that drama, and like to be.
Honestly, I like this channel.
The only thing I'm going to say to that is that like what you guys are being told about the money is only one side of the story, and if you guys care about being informed,
I don't that. They got receipts. I'm not subbing that. I'm not high fiving that.
I mean, I
believe Max has good stuff on him.
That's why he didn't get the money. That's why he didn't get the money.
I think he's informative.
I think they're both informative, and I think that we shouldn't let
just a good video, okay?
Their personal stuff.
Well, despite his personality, this is like listening to Kanye West, okay?
In response to the attacks in Israel-Palestine, I wanted to make a report that provides important context that is almost never mentioned in the mainstream corporate media, and yet we cannot understand this conflict without these basic facts. First of all, in Gaza, there are 2.3 million Palestinians living under an illegal Israeli blockade. Israel controls everything that enters and leaves Gaza. This is an open-air prison. Even the former British Prime Minister referred to this as an open-air prison. This has gone on for 16 years, and it's completely illegal. Secondly, according to international law, Palestinians have a legal right to armed resistance. Today, I'm going to look through the letter of the law. I'm going to look at United Nations resolutions that show clearly that Palestinians have a right to armed resistance against Israeli colonialism. And 3, Israel is a colonial apartheid regime. It used to be controversial to say this, but it no longer is. Even mainstream Western human rights organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch and UN bodies have acknowledged that Israel is committing a crime against humanity by carrying out a system of apartheid against the Palestinian people. These are all very important facts. I'm going to go through the evidence today from mainstream sources showing this.
You can go to like
and yet
229.
This context is almost...
Yeah.
But here are the basic facts that you should know. First of all, the conflict in Israel-Palestine is not about religion. A lot of Western analysts try to portray this as a religious conflict between Muslims and Jews. First of all, there are many Palestinian Christians as well. It's not religious, but this is a lazy analysis. In reality, this is a conflict about national liberation and self-determination. This is also similar to the very lazy and misleading analysis that blames the violence in Northern Ireland on religion. It's not a religious conflict. It's a conflict about colonialism, of Irish nationalists resisting British colonialism so they can unify Ireland, which is partially occupied by British colonialism. It's not a conflict between Catholics and Protestants. Now, because this is a struggle of national liberation.
I just wanted to touch upon that because we were mentioning earlier that like all Israel is a bunch of white European colonists. That's kind of what Ben's saying here is like, it's not a religious conflict.
You already mentioned this before, like Israel's like not even, they're not like Israelites. Palestine was a country before.
Well, no, and the other thing is that because Israel is trying to create an ethno state, they let people who I don't know what the bar is for proving how much Ashkenazi or Jewish blood you have on you, but they're trying to get their numbers up to create an ethno state so they can say that they're a Jewish state. So they let as many people in as possible, and that's kind of how the settler thing works. So we can go from, I guess, 6 minutes now. Part about the UNICEF.
Yeah.
Of Gaza. In 2022, UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund, published a report on the humanitarian impact of 15 years of the Israeli blockade of the Gaza Strip. And there are a lot of very inconvenient facts in here that I want to go through because, again, they're almost never mentioned in the mainstream corporate media. UNICEF notes that the Israeli blockade was imposed on Gaza in 2007, so now it has been 16 years of a blockade, and this is not just a land blockade, it is also a sea blockade and an air blockade. Israel controls everything that goes in and out of the territory. Gaza has no sovereignty. As UNICEF puts it, Israel has significantly exacerbated previous restrictions, limiting the number and specified categories of people and goods allowed in and out through the Israeli-controlled crossings. Israeli forces have largely restricted access to areas within 300 meters of the Gaza side of the perimeter fence with Israel. So they've surrounded Gaza with a massive fence. And whenever Palestinians protest inside Gaza, Israeli snipers shoot them, including not only peaceful protesters, but also medics.
Yeah, which is all a war crime. Killing children is a war crime. This is all according to the UN.
So go back to about 710, because instead of like listening to all of them go over all the other points, we can just like look at it. So Israeli forces have largely restricted access to the area within 300 meters of the Gaza side of the perimeter fences of Israel. Israeli forces restrict access off the Gaza coast, currently only allowing fishermen access to 50% of the fishing waters. Unemployment levels in Gaza are among the highest in the world. The Q1 jobless rate was 46.6%, compared with an average of 34.8% in 2006. Youth unemployment is at 62.5%. 1.3 million out of 2.1 million Palestinians in Gaza, that's over half, 62%, require food assistance. And 50% of the electricity demand in Gaza, so they only get power about half the day. And
4 hours.
Yeah, it's 4 hours a day now, so it's even less now. And about 4/5 of the water.
That's in 2019. I don't know. I don't know about now.
It's probably worse.
Now they don't have any.
Yeah.
Well, right now, as of right now, they don't have any.
Yeah, I think they completely shut it off now. So
they completely shut it off.
Yeah, and the last point, 4/5 of the water that comes to their pipes is unfit for consumption. So just incredible oppression that they're going through on a daily basis, you know. And maybe people aren't like aware, like maybe they just think it's like people who aren't paying attention just think it's a resort, or maybe if you're born Palestinian, you deserve to be like oppressed like that for a lifetime. But, you know, with the people who want to toe the line and say that this stuff is unprovoked, they're coming from a place where they don't know these things, or they don't think more than 30 seconds.
Or even both sidesing it. Even both sidesing it is not enough. If you're anti-war, you are 100% supporting the Palestinian resistance, and that's it.
Regions of the world, and yet they're treated like cattle. They're not treated like human beings. In fact, documents from Israel's defense ministry prove that Israel controlled the amount of food that can be imported into Gaza in order to, quote, put Palestinians on a diet.
They're starving them.
Control their access to food. This was reported on a decade ago in the Guardian newspaper, and they say very clearly, this is, you know, the establishment British mouthpiece, they say, quote, the Israeli military made precise calculations of Gaza's daily calorie needs, according to files the defense ministry released. Israel also maintained a list of foods that were permitted and banned from Gaza. Israel calculated the calorie needs for Gaza's population so as to restrict the quantity of food it allowed in. And a diplomatic cable released by WikiLeaks, which is why the journalist Julian Assange is in prison and is facing life in prison. WikiLeaks published a U.S. diplomatic cable that showed, it quoted Israeli diplomats as saying they wanted to, quote, keep Gaza's economy on the brink of collapse. And a human rights organization inside Israel called Gisha said, quote, the official goal of the policy was to wage economic warfare, which would paralyze Gaza's economy. And as an example of the restrictions that Israel imposes, it prevents Palestinians from importing things like coriander and instant coffee. I mean, preventing them from having a basic, dignified life.
And on top of that, they're not, you know, I know he's just talking about food here, but one of the other things that they aren't allowed to import is concrete. So they can't rebuild any of the structures that get carpet bombed by IDF. So that's why everything's in rubble, is because the IDF doesn't allow them to rebuild. So the next part at like about 11:30, this is kind of like the legality of the whole situation that I kind of want to make clear, because this is why I think that there's not really, once you kind of understand what's going on, there's no nuance to this. There's no both sidesing. You know, Palestine has every right to defend itself, and the UN says so.
This is why it is absolutely correct to say that Palestinians in Gaza are living in an open-air prison camp. And because of that, according to international law, they have a legal right to armed resistance. This is spelled out very clearly by the United Nations. There is no ambiguity. And this was stated very clearly in a United Nations General Assembly resolution from 1980, which is resolution 35/35. The resolution, quote, reaffirms the legitimacy of the struggle of peoples for independence, territorial integrity, national unity, and liberation from colonial and foreign domination and foreign occupation by all available means, including armed struggle.
That's it.
That's the UN. That's the UN.
That's it.
And they even say Palestine by name. And this is back in the 80s when there was actual apartheid in South Africa. So, you know, this goes back. It's not like just last week. Like they've been very, very clear on this issue going on almost 50 years.
Yeah. There's no nuance on this. Absolutely
none. So we got the part about amnesty, but you saw that earlier. I think we can probably just skip to where he talks a little bit about the unprovoked part. But you can see Amnesty International called it an apartheid state. So there's really no nuance here. Again, like you'll run into RFK. RFK is an apartheid denier, but even Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, they all call it apartheid.
These are the most basic. Like these are the same people that are like accusing like Russia of war crimes. Like these are the most like liberal like.
Well, so I was actually thinking about this the other day. So the people there's a Venn diagram, okay, and the people who support Ukrainian Nazis and the people who deny that apartheid exists in Palestine, it's a circle. It's just one circle. You know, it's the same people, which is kind of telling, I think. In a way, the people. No, lol, that's Chris. What is this? I don't know what you were responding to.
No, he's asked me if I'm in Ben Norton's echo chamber.
Hey, I watch Gray Zone too, but I don't think there's an echo chamber here. He's using information.
There's no discrimination here. It's just good.
Dude, he's citing everything. This isn't opinion. This is just citing freaking
It's just easy. It's right there. It's all compiled.
So uncontroversial at this point that now even mainstream human rights organizations like Amnesty International published a report in 2022 in which it states, quote, Israeli authorities must be held accountable for committing the crime of apartheid against Palestinians. Israel enforces a system of oppression and domination against the Palestinian people. This includes Palestinians living in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, as well as displaced refugees in other countries. Amnesty published a lengthy report that details massive seizures of Palestinian land and property, unlawful killings, forcible transfer, drastic movement restrictions, and the denial of nationality and citizenship to Palestinians, which are all components of a system which amounts to apartheid under international law and constitutes a crime against humanity. And Amnesty International called on the International Criminal Court to consider the crime of apartheid in its investigation in the occupied Palestinian territories. Although I should point out that's not going to happen because the ICC, after pressure by Western governments and by Israel, replaced its chief prosecutor with a British prosecutor who immediately dropped the investigations into Israeli atrocities and war crimes in the occupied Palestinian territories. He also stopped the ICC's investigation into war crimes committed by the US military in Afghanistan. So that's the biased International Criminal Court for you. But the point is that it's become so uncontroversial that Israel's an apartheid regime that even the former chief of Mossad, which is the top Israeli intelligence agency, spy agency, which assassinates Palestinians. I mean, this is an organization that has so much Palestinian blood on its hands. Well, the former chief of Mossad also admitted that Israel is carrying out an apartheid regime. This is according to an interview published in September by the Associated Press. And it notes, a former head of Israel's Mossad intelligence agency told the Associated Press that Israel is enforcing an apartheid system in the West Bank. This is incredible because I remember a decade ago as a journalist constantly being smeared, demonized, lied about because
This is what RFK is saying. Mm-hmm. He's saying it's not apartheid.
Yeah, just completely denying
the
it.
Mossad says it's apartheid.
Even Mossad. You can actually skip to, I guess you could just wrap it up with the about 2407 because he talks about the unprovoked narrative too.
But of course, the US government ignores international law, and the Joe Biden White House released a ridiculous statement referring to the attacks by Palestinian forces against Israel as, quote, unprovoked. By definition, they are not unprovoked. I mean, there's no mention of the millions of Palestinian refugees, the destruction of their houses, the bulldozing of their houses, the blockade of Gaza, the occupation of the West Bank, the borderline starvation diet that Palestinians are put on, the destruction of farmland so Palestinians cannot feed themselves and their families, the humiliation, the racism, the apartheid. By definition, this is the opposite of unprovoked. These are very much provoked attacks. Israel is constantly provoking these attacks. And every single day, Israel kills Palestinians. Every day. This violence in Israel-Palestine is not new. Only saying that there's violence when Palestinians respond to the Israeli violence is completely misleading. You don't actually care about the violence if you only talk about the violence when Palestinians respond to the constant daily, hourly Israeli violence.
Probably good for there, but yeah. So, and it's funny because that statement actually looks a lot, now that I'm looking at it again after seeing RFK's statement, the unequivocal condemnation, whatever. It sounds like RFK looked at that announcement and was like, "Oh, I'll just change some words around."
Well, so that's the thing. Like, and I wanted to bring another point up where, there's not a lot of people who are, it's not a very popular thing to support. I mean, well, perhaps it is on like the more like left. Popular like left side. Like this is like it's only because it's been like a solidified issue for years. I mean, Noam Chomsky talked about it. Like I said, people have dedicated their entire careers for it. But an important trend that I want that people should notice is that like you'll see people all over the place. Like there's Trump, there's Tulsi,
the worst takes,
who all came out of the woodwork who are saying that who are 100% against the war in Ukraine, but and
that's another thing. It's just like it's so obvious, a real mask off moment for the Uniparty because of how aligned every single freaking apparatchik in the United States is.
So sad.
It's just right in freaking unison. It's just so here's Tulsi. The United States must stand with Israel in the face of this terror attack by the Islamist terrorist group Hamas. So as you saw with Ben's stuff, like it's not a religious organization. Yes, anyway, this is just the latest example of the greater war being waged by both Sunni and Shia Islamist jihadists throughout the world. This should be a wake-up call to leaders everywhere that Islamist jihadists are the greatest short and long-term threat to the safety, security, and freedom of the American people and people throughout the world. Let's not talk about how many Islamic fundamentalist jihadists the U.S. is responsible for, like the Mujahideen and freaking like the Uyghurs in the freaking 90s. Like that was all like the U.S. Like the reason why like the Uyghur stuff happened with like the education, re-education, all that stuff is because the U.S. was trying to destabilize China by radicalizing Uyghurs in the 90s. It was the same thing that we did with the Mujahideen in the fucking late 70s, 80s. So, and it's also really disgusting that Tulsi is using the kind of like the religious tropes.
It's really cynical.
It is really cynical because like Americans, because like I would say probably since at least 9/11 have like just automatically associate, I think they still kind of associate like kind of like Muslim and Islamic stuff with a negative connotation. So all Tulsi has to do is throw out some of that bait, and she's going to like galvanize these bloodthirsty Zionists.
Bro, like I'm so mad that she like spoke like I don't know like now I'm looking at her.
I mean, she's always been a reservist. She was in AFRICOM. Like
she's always been like so bad on like the Middle East situation. I want to bring this up that
this was also really
Danny
good.
And Ali had a really informative chat yesterday. But I wanted to bring up this point. This actually made me laugh. It was very specific, to the reactions of what happened this past weekend. So let's listen to like what Ali thinks the Palestinians think.
Atrocities to some form or another. You have the UK now shining Israeli flags, the entire European Union doing the same. You have Vladimir Zelensky, the hero in Ukraine, or the zero in Ukraine, maybe we should say, also come out with multiple statements. Some think he's begging for weapons while also kind of intimating that he supports Israel 100%. But we have all these reactions. And then you also have presidential candidates coming out. You have Cornel West. Some people were angry with his statement in terms of making false equivalencies. RFK Jr.'s statement, which was full force Israel lobby talking points. Wherever you want to go in terms of your reactions to how politically the fallout has been since Palestine, the Palestinians began this Operation Al-Aqsa Flood.
Yeah, I think the thing I would emphasize is the extent to which Palestinians just don't care. And, you know, Ben-Gurion, the founder of the Israeli settler colony, the first prime minister of the settler colony, famously said one time, you know, it was, I think, in a cabinet meeting, that he was told by some other minister, you know, if we do this, the United Nations will pass a resolution against us. And he said, basically, to hell with the United Nations. What matters is not what the Goyim say. What matters is what the Jews do. And I think there is a mirror of that in Palestinian thinking. It doesn't matter anymore what the liberal West says or Western progressives say. What matters is what the Palestinian resistance does. Because frankly, all the sympathy, to the extent there's been much at all, from Western liberals has been absolutely worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done nothing.
Done nothing.
Absolutely. These people have remained hopeless for years. And they've had, like, these are not, like, all the Palestine protests that we're going to show later on in the show are, that's not, definitely not the first time in a very, like, you know, this is decades long of a conflict that the majority of people just simply don't agree with. It's inhumane.
In changing the policies of Western governments and changing the conditions of the Palestinian people. And of course, the Western, so-called Western countries are responsible because they are the foundation on which the Israeli settler colony is armed and funded and so on. And I think that there is just a realization that, you know, being the perfect, well-behaved victims has gotten Palestinians nowhere. And the lectures, you know, the disgusting lectures Palestinians have been getting for years, like, oh, you know, if you take inspiration from Gandhi, if you're just more like Gandhi, then the world will listen. I mean, there were horrible columns from...
They did that.
Yeah, the March of Return.
How many times did they do it? They did that several times already.
Tom Friedman.
There was the March of Return was a few years ago, and it was like over 1,000 people. I think they killed. I want to look that up.
Yeah, and they just stood in line and they got shot. So I mean,
Christoph and those type of people for years saying that. Well, Palestinians did that. They said, okay, we'll try it. In 2018, the Great March of Return, tens, hundreds of thousands of Palestinian men, women, children, young, old, came out to protest, to rally for their rights at the Gaza border fence, completely unarmed. And Israel sent military snipers to maim and murder them in their thousands. Was there any reaction? Did the promised reaction from the reaction, the support that Tom Friedman and Nick Christoph had promised, did that materialize? No. There was silence. There was complicity. There was support for Israel murdering unarmed civilians with military snipers.
Children, women.
Yeah, so what do you want Palestinians to do? And now all the whining and crying. Palestinians don't have time to mourn their dead. The children that are murdered almost every day by the Israeli army across the West Bank. They don't have time to count their own dead. And Western liberals are demanding that they mourn for and sympathize with their colonizers and oppressors. Who else is in that situation? Certainly not Ukrainians, where every day you can read in the New York Times articles praising the plucky Ukrainians for all the ways they found to fight the Russians, articles praising car bombings of Russian officials, praising the murders of suspected collaborators, the articles praising Ukrainians for their inventiveness in taking commercial drones and turning them into weapons and so on. Where is all that for the Palestinian people? Of course, it doesn't exist. So why the hell should they care what Ilhan Omar or Cornel West or Robert F. Kennedy or any of these other clowns think? Because their support, to the extent that it's ever come, has added up to zero.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. And so I haven't seen a single Palestinian or a single commentator in Arab media say, oh, well, what are they saying in the West? What is Ilhan Omar saying? Nobody cares. Get over yourselves. Nobody cares.
I mean, that's true, though. Completely nails it.
I just got to clap to that. That's.
I mean, he's right, though. It's like when you wake up
quoted on a wall somewhere, like
it's like we can't. It goes back to what I was saying. Like we can't imagine what it's like to be born in Gaza and spend your whole life in Gaza and be told that like the rest of the entire Western world vilifies you and thinks that you're less than human since day one. You know, we can't even comprehend that. So, you know, Ali being like, no one cares. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't care either if I was a Palestinian. I'd be like it's literally life or death for me. You know,
these people are on their last wins. Imagine, like, no one can ever possibly imagine a situation like that. I will, you know, I was earlier on sort of not sure if I should play this video because of violence, but I'll play it anyway.
Which one is
it? But you want to know like the mentality of the Israeli snipers. We have this video from the Max Blumenthal documentary.
I remember this. Yeah,
this is the kind of people that we're dealing with.
This is from March of Return, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the 2018-2019 March of Return.
איך הוא מתכופף תמיד בדיוק כשנוקטים? לא ורוד, אני על הכחול אני. וואי, זה סרטון! יש! בן של זונה.
Disgusting.
איזה סרטון, הנה, תרוצו לפנות אותו. בטח שצילמתי את זה.
Oh my god.
וואו, פגעו לי מישהו בראש.
Oh my god, dude. Psychopaths.
So we're at the point where they've gotten all of the mainstream press, but without any of the praise, any of the support, any of the help. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're cutting off all of the EU's cutting off aid to Israel to Palestine.
Of course they are. That's their virtue signal of standing behind Israel and letting like Palestinians starve. Okay. It's just wild. Like people so obviously on the wrong side of history on this one, and it's like a whole mask off moment for the world to see. And
nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a single fuck about any of them. So what are they gonna do? What else are they? You tell me what they're gonna do. Because
wow,
clearly they're helpless and they don't have any sort of they don't. No one else is going to save them.
Well, I mean,
you want them to just sit there and die? Like,
I mean, that's why I got kind of It was good to see how fast like Lebanon showed support, Taliban of all groups showed support, freaking Iran showed support. So like you're starting to see, I think what you're seeing here is that, yes, it's fair to say that this was planned a long time ago and that all these other countries that are showing support for Hamas have planned on showing support for Hamas for a long time since before this started. That being said, and I'm kind of losing my train of thought, I think this conflict is the hill that a lot of these countries are willing to die on. You know, I think this conflict is the one that's like, okay, we can finally get that pest known as Israel out of the fucking Middle East. So, like, I think that this is going to be an existential thing for either Israel or Palestine, one or the other. You know, like
it's a huge shift.
Yeah, I don't think we've already been way past the like farce that was the opportunity for a two-state solution. I think this conflict is going to end with either Palestine or Israel. So, that's kind of where I'm coming from with it.
We know that it's very bleak, it's very dark. There's no way out. If there's no water, there is no way out of Gaza. What should we do? Like drown? Like commit mass suicide? Is this what Israel wants? And we're not going to do that. And I was telling some friend the other day that I'm an academic. Probably the toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if the Israelis invade, if they charge at us, open door to door to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the Israeli soldiers, even if that is the last thing that I would be able to do. And this is the feeling of everybody. We are helpless. We have nothing to lose.
Jeez. Was that literally a freaking bomb that dropped as he's on the live stream? That's crazy. Yeah, dude. Sounds like there was a freaking explosion. Wow, that's crazy. That's chilling.
Well, he's from Gaza, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That being said, it's going to be really ugly when they do.
I'm going to retweet that for prosperity too, just because that's a powerful video. It's a powerful ass video.
I would agree with that.
We have a lot of the.
It's going to be really sad when they cross into Gaza because there is going to be a lot of. I think that there's going to be a lot of like innocent people caught in the crossfire, but in the end, I think that IDF would lose a confrontation in Gaza because it's in Hamas's backyard. They've got the tunnels, they've got the infrastructure. It's their playground. But it doesn't mean that IDF won't take out a lot of innocent people in the process. What you got?
Here's what Netanyahu
said
fucking
Netanyahu, of course.
This is what the Israeli response is, technically. Breaking today.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most.
So they're officially declaring war.
Yeah, but the thing is that technically they've been with war with Palestine since at least 2007 when they started the blockade. It's been as long as it's been an illegal occupation. They've been at war with Palestine. So this is just it's a moot point. All he's saying is that they're going to freaking rain hell upon innocent people. Yeah, it's going to be
savage way.
As Desert Man
But though
is
Israel
saying.
didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless, once the Jewish people were defenseless, no longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come. The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes, massacring hundreds of young people at an outdoor festival, kidnapping scores of women, children, and elderly, even Holocaust survivors. Hamas terrorists bound, burned, and executed children.
Which are being used as hostages for Palestinian refugees in return, which is like a much higher ratio.
Children. They are savages. Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilizations united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas. I want to thank President Biden for his unequivocal support. I want to thank leaders across the world who are standing with Israel today. I want to thank the people and Congress of the United States of America. In fighting Hamas, Israel is not only fighting for its own people, it is fighting for every country that stands against barbarism. Israel will win this war.
Oh my God, dude. Projection.
And when Israel wins, the entire civilized world wins.
So no, this is them flailing their arms.
This is just again, like I know I've said this before, but like I'm just like a little bit more awake than I was a few years ago, and I just feel like I'm living in freaking the world of doublethink, like or like doublespeak all the time, where they're saying the exact opposite of what they mean at all times. It's like that movie, They're Here. You put on the glasses, and it's like he's just
they live.
They live, yeah. So it's just disgusting, man. Like you just know that everything that comes out of Netanyahu's out of his mouth that he's saying, accusing the Palestinians of doing, is just pure projection. You know, it's just everything that the freaking fascist Zionists are doing. But that's freaking disgusting.
All the freaks came out well, first of all, they're cutting off electricity, fuel, water, food. So they're just completely cutting them out.
Yeah,
that's the result of this.
But that's not a provocation. You know, but they expect Palestinians to put down their arms. They expect them to just like stop and like ask for peace. Oh, whoa! You take everything away from us. We'll stop now. You got us. No,
they're already surviving on themselves already. So, as you can predict, what Israel is doing is in response to this is to do what they know best, and that's to terrorize the shit out of Gaza even more. This is literal hell on earth.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to fight.
Do you have actually? There's literally video.
Do you have any? You want to fucking protest this? You want to protest with these?
That's crazy. I actually have on our Telegram a ton of footage of the Gaza getting bombed to hell. If you wanted to pull that up, I don't know. We're kind of experimenting with our Telegram, and we started posting a bunch of stuff over there because it doesn't make it on a Twitter, but we haven't really experimented with it on the live stream yet.
Yeah, Telegram's a really great resource for a lot of the war porn. I saw someone mention that before, war porn.
Oh, I definitely want to pull it up anyway because there's some more Hamas propaganda I want to show because it's fucking badass.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see, where are we at? Let's see. But yeah, I guess I could share my screen, huh? Let me see, I'll do it then. Give me 1 second here. I guess I have to do. Oh, cool. I can just do Telegram. All right. So let's see. Do you want me to pull up my screen?
So it's not just Gaza. It's Lebanon too. Just this morning, they're striking at the Lebanese border now.
Well, that's Hezbollah attacking Israel.
Israeli occupation forces striking. This is Israel, the tower in South Lebanon.
Oh,
according.
Okay, because I've seen other stuff of Lebanon attacking. They actually there's reports.
Here's another source that this morning that they struck northern southern Lebanon.
Now it is a Middle Eastern conflict.
You heard Netanyahu, right? He said, we're going to eliminate Gaza and all of Israel's enemies. That includes Lebanon. That includes Syria. So what they're doing, their big smart plan, is to flail their arms around and be like, what? Like, just shoot everyone around them, like literally all the countries around them. That's their game plan.
People are going to find out that Israeli military is not what everybody thinks they are.
أيضا الجليل الغربي بدخول الملاجئ ويتحدث هذا الإعلام عن عمليات تسلل إضافية إلى داخل الجليل الغربي.
This is war. This is like literally. This is so. Is this a world war?
I mean, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the world war. I think. I mean, at this point, if they're attacking Lebanon, and like, because think about who's going to get involved. You know, you have Palestine, you have Lebanon, you have Syria, you have maybe Iraq, you have Iran, you have the Taliban from Afghanistan, like, and you have the U.S. We already have an aircraft carrier there, so. You know, like, what's the definition of a world war? You know, how many countries have to be involved for it to be a world war? Sounds like a world war to me. It's going to have like a rippling effect across the entire planet. You know, whether you're in freaking, you know, Sweden or you're in freaking, you know, somewhere in Africa, you're going to be impacted by the war that's brewing in the Middle East. You know? So that's kind of how I see it. I would call it a world war. I mean, it looks like it's going to be like that in a matter of time. Palestine's not going to stop doing what they're doing. Israel's not going to stop doing what they're doing.
And Russia's not going to stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
and then
okay.
And then you begin to wonder like how much Iran is going to get involved, because that's becoming a world power too.
So
think of BRICS.
I think it's already kind of clear that. I mean, I don't know if I would say this the same way as the U.S. is using Ukraine as proxies, but I would say that Hamas is an Iran proxy. You know, like they get all their funding from, they get tons of funding from Iran. You know, they definitely get their drones from Iran. You know, so they get a lot of their freaking parts to make their rockets from Iran. So, you know, in a way, I think that they're kind of already involved. It's just a matter of when they're going to start shooting rockets, because they have rockets that can reach fucking Israel from fucking Iran.
Yeah, they can beat the Iron Dome. They showed that with the rockets. We're going to show a little bit more to me a long stream, but
yeah, but there's so much good footage.
I didn't need to steal. What you wanted to share?
Well, was there other stuff on the topic that you're on, or I can just go into some of the videos? I can show some of the. I'll show some of the. Let me see if this.
This is basically like the Israeli kind of like a response, like, you know, all the maniacs response. I even have Nikki Haley. We'll play in a little bit.
Hold on, is this?
Are you playing the Hamas videos?
I was gonna play some of the. Why is it not showing up though? Oh, it doesn't show up. Let me see this.
Yeah, you have to share. Yeah, you have to share as a window. I'll do it. Don't worry.
All right, then we'll get back to it later. Because I haven't messed around with it. But yeah, you can just go to the videos on our own. Okay, but we'll listen to this freaking.
But let's step back, because I want the American people to.
This is as expected, but I just want people to pay attention to the language that these people are using. That it's pure on full mania.
Kind of take this in for a second. Just imagine that here the Israelis woke up and communities were bombarded. Families were murdered. Women and children were taken hostage, dragged through the streets. The elderly were taken. All of this has happened in front of everyone, on top of thousands of rockets that hit Israel. This should be personal for every woman and man in America. Why? Because when they did this surprise attack, when they took these hostages, when they murdered these families, they were celebrating. And what were they celebrating? They were saying death to Israel, death to America. This is not just an attack on Israel. This is an attack on America, because they hate us just as much. And what we have to understand is This is the reason that we have to unite around making sure our enemies do not hurt our friends. America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends, just like we needed them on 9/11. That's why Ukraine needs us when Russia's doing this. That's why Israel needs us when Hamas and Iran are doing this. And I'll say this to Prime Minister Netanyahu, finish them. Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
So what do you... We have Lindsey Graham out here. This motherfucker,
I've been on the
he wants to strike Iran, this motherfucker.
Absolutely all day to the Mideast, and I've told our allies and people with connections to Iran, what I would do, I would tell Iran that if Hezbollah attacks Israel, we're going to come after you, the Iranians, and have a coordinated effort between the United States and Israel to put Iran out of the oil business by destroying their refinery.
They don't have the balls to do that. There's no way in hell.
He's so unhinged, dude. Like, you can always count on Lindsey Graham to have like the most bloodthirsty takes. He's been consistently bloodthirsty. Just awful. Like, it just reminds me, it harkens back to when he was with McCain talking to all the Ukrainian Nazis. It's like the same sort of shit. You know, he's just like so consistently bad when it comes to freaking egging on for more war. This isn't Mortal Kombat. She's running for president. Like, I can't believe you could say that as a president. Like, oh, let's just kill like millions of people, no problem. And like, they all need to disappear. Like, that's fucking frightening. That's fucking frightening. Like, can you imagine somebody like that being president with the freaking nuclear codes, thinking that they just want to commit like genocide one day? They're like, oh, you know, the ADL told me I need to freaking flatten Gaza. Okay, beep. Like, that's just terrifying that like reactionary to the situation. Anybody who talks like that should be immediately disqualified from running for president.
No, there's maniacs currently running for president who want to bomb Israel. They want to bomb Iran. They want to bomb Mexico. They just want to go all over the place, and they just want to start dropping.
At least we know that the Ukraine war is going to have to wind down because the U.S. does not have the resources to provide for two wars at the same time.
That is the main strain, and I feel like that is where we're gonna get into the more like, you know, conspiracy false flag round a little bit later on. But Iran, like there's a big geopolitical, like the two biggest oil giants in the world is number one Russia, and the second one is Iran. So they can't be fucking with both of these people at the same time, because our oil is done. Our energy reserves are done.
I think we're down to, I think our reserves are at like 17 days or something. It's the lowest it's been in freaking decades.
If they both sanction us, it's done. It's both done. We're absolutely done. This is, I mean, you know, I don't want to say it's World War II, but, you know, however much we can speculate that throughout this stream. I don't know if I can confirm this, that like I saw
white phosphorus. I've seen other videos of it.
So like I saw a post that was corrected, and it was like really like a video from Syria. But
okay, because I've seen it wouldn't have been the first time that
if it's not from Telegram, that there's no real, even on Telegram, there's no real way to know.
Yeah, but I would say that it's not the first time that Israel has been caught using white phosphorus. So they've done it before, so I wouldn't put it past them. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to show this because as Nikki Haley is talking about Palestinians slaughtering children, here's a video of a child that is, you know, ostensibly got impacted by one of the airstrikes by IDF. So Nikki Haley wants more of this.
معمول غلط هذا حتى لو في ايدك كان بين هذا ممكن يكون ببشر شو اسمه هذا بس كان ببشر لا كان بين بالسكينه بس راحه هذا مش شوي.
But yeah, so that's just like one example, and there's tons of videos like that. But like that's what Nikki Haley wants. That's what Nikki Haley wants.
it's complete. It's complete. Again, flailing arms. I feel like the West kind of got caught with their pants at their ankles. That's pretty much.
I mean, I'm of that belief pretty strongly too. That we were, and this is what I was trying to articulate earlier. Is like I don't know.
Thing we can do.
Like, do you kind of internalize prior to being aware of what's going on that like Palestine freedom fighters were just kind of like your average person who just picked up a gun and kind of like just pretended to know what they're doing? Like you didn't, unless you like are familiar with the situation.
They dedicated their life. They joined Hamas.
I don't think most liberals are aware of the professionalism and the fact that it's like a bona fide, military outfit. So I don't know if that's my own bias because I've been unfamiliar for so long.
I don't have the timestamp, but there's actually a video of like one of the Palestinian refugees. Like he talks about like how like his house got bombed and he lost his his sister or his daughter or something. He lost his entire family, so he joined Hamas. Mm-hmm. And he said, like, you know what, that's it. If this is the only thing I have left, then fuck it.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like when you witness freaking death and destruction every single day, eventually you're gonna be like, my purpose in life is to exact revenge on my friends and family. My purpose in life is to free my neighbors, free myself from this freaking prison. Like I don't know if there's another place on the planet that is more sure of their fate and sure of like what they need to do than the Palestinians, because all they have to consider right now is how to liberate themselves, how to not live under apartheid. Like that's their goal. I can only imagine being in a culture surrounded with 2 million other people, over 2 million other people, and that's the culture. It's like we're trapped in this prison and we want to escape it. Imagine being around millions of people every single day, and that's the culture you're exposed to. Of course, these people are going to be like, yeah, I'm ready to die for my freaking neighbors. I'm ready to die for my family. I'm ready to die for Palestine. So, I get it. I get it. What did you want to?
Yeah, no, there's simply no. There's simply no reason for these people to have any sort of humanity left. I mean, you're asking a dehumanized population to have a sense of humanity. That it simply doesn't exist. Like when you dehumanize a population to that point, you're gonna produce dehumanized people who, at this point, they have nothing else to lose. They just want to liberate.
Yeah,
they just don't want to liberate their land. So obviously, Israel had to go hard overdrive on the propaganda coming out this weekend.
Yeah, because it's apparently so unbelievable to most of the world that Hamas is capable of undermining Israeli tech and intelligence and their military. Oh my God.
Did you see that? Thousands.
I mean, you saw the airports. It is thousands of people.
Thousands. This is an official Israeli.
I didn't even notice that.
The IDF, they couldn't even hire a good enough a fucking trailer.
Should have hired somebody from Hamas. They would have made that shit fucking lit.
Thriller movie trailer.
Thousands.
Man. They can't even use spell check.
Couldn't find an e-girl to fucking double check that's working for them.
Can't find an e-girl to double check your Israeli propaganda. That's a shame. Damn it. The worst they can find is a guy shot in the leg. Compared to all the shit that we just showed you earlier in the stream, the worst they can find is people running, a girl crying, and a guy that got shot in the leg.
I mean, to be fair, I've seen some photos of some of the bloodshed.
No, there's definitely tragedy happening, but it's war. But like, it's what
so
is to be expected.
And my kind of take on that. So it's complicated in Israel because everybody. It's my understanding that everybody has to go into the service at some point for a period of time.
You think that video is real?
I mean, I think it's doctored. There's elements of that came from some of the stuff I've seen on Telegram, 100%. But definitely doctored. But as far as like the whole innocent civilian thing, so Israel is a little bit complicated because anybody at any time can be called to arms. Okay, so they can put out a bulletin and be like, okay, everybody grab your guns, meet out in the corner. We're going to like hold our ground. And it's my understanding that everybody in Israel has to enroll into the service for a period of time after they graduate high school. Now, I know that recently a lot of people will, go to jail and resist instead of being in the reserve, but it kind of muddies the water a little bit. And like when you're trying to say who's like an innocent civilian who like isn't a potential combatant and who isn't. Now, obviously, like I haven't seen any videos of dead children at the hands of Hamas. I've seen dead kids at the hands of IDF. We saw that one video of the woman in the back of the truck, which is like the probably the most barbaric thing I've seen. But when you know that the entire population can be mobilized at once, it kind of like, if I was a Hamas soldier, am I going into these settlements and considering that every single one of them might be armed? I think that's kind of the headspace that they need to be in, right? So it's war. It's complicated, but if you're having a rave outside of Gaza, I have to get outside of being empathetic. I can't be empathetic for these fucking goons.
It's flailing. It's exactly like we said, flailing their arms.
Oh,
Israel
this is
launched
fucking
a
crazy.
propaganda campaign.
You might see this on a YouTube ad near you guys. This is fucking wild.
Yeah, no, it's on platforms like YouTube, like literally calling for violence and revenge.
Yeah, so we have to watch what we say on stream, but IDF can come out with advertisements like this to go in front of our streams where we're censoring ourselves.
Yeah.
This is fucking wild.
If you watched, how did we miss that yesterday? Reef and Indy went over about how the YouTube channel suppression, where if you're searching within a specific channel anything about the Israel and Gaza situation, it'll only pop up mainstream media sources.
Yeah,
so like
the first page on your own channel, if you use the search, it's crazy.
Yeah, just another effective form of censorship.
Censorship suppression for sure.
Yeah, this is an emergency damage control campaign aimed at justifying Israeli violence and to gain public outrage amongst
Hamas declared war against Israel. Armed Hamas terrorists infiltrated into Israel via a ground invasion and started going door to door slaughtering innocent Israelis. Hundreds of Israeli civilians, including children and women, have been killed or injured, and Israeli hostages have been taken. This is a war, and Israel will take every measure necessary to protect our citizens against these barbaric terrorists.
Crazy.
So embarrassed. They're so embarrassed. You could tell how embarrassed they are.
Dude, it's wild to me how, like I said, like we're not allowed to say certain things, but they can literally call for the death of, an indigenous people, essentially, who have been oppressed for freaking almost a century. And like that could be on like a fucking YouTube video. Like what the hell? It feels like if I saw this come in, like if I was watching one of our videos and I saw this pop up in the beginning of our video, I would be insulted. I would be offended.
Yeah, no, I would. It's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen.
I mean, you can imagine how much money
IDF would roll out. Just wait. Just keep on waiting. Like as the
God, this is the new thing, isn't it? This is the new current thing. This is the new current thing.
going to be the new current thing. Is to support Israel because we need to support.
At least we know that the Ukraine war is going to wind down. That there's going to be negotiations. That the children being trafficked out of Ukraine, that won't happen anymore.
No. The U.S.
Dude, like the U.S. does not have. I mean, watch enough Scott Ritter, watch enough freaking New Atlas, you'll see that like the U.S. does not have the means. We don't have the weapons. We don't have the means to freaking have two wars at the same time. We don't. Like, I think people paying attention are aware that like our arms supply is really bad right now. That's why when you see like Ukraine get a shipment of tanks, it's like 10 tanks, and they get freaking taken out in like 2 days. Like freaking, it's just that they're constantly like Zelensky's constantly asking for more weapons because we can barely keep up with the production at this point. Like I think as far as like missile production is like 2 years behind at this point. So we're, if China decided they want to liberate the United States, they could probably do it.
So as we like predictably, we're saying now that the Israeli propaganda, like this is just the beginning of the Israeli propaganda.
The beginning.
This is just the beginning. You're gonna start as long as this is going on. As long as this is going on, you're going to see more pro-Israeli commercials. You're going to see more people on television screaming about how we have to fund, yes, free Palestine, free Maui. This is insane. East Palestine, Flint. We're in hell world, guys. But like, I wanted to play this video in terms of
fucking Mar, of course.
As we're watching Israeli propaganda pop off in real time, watch and it's called Hasbara. This is the Israeli form of propaganda.
Israeli propaganda, okay.
Yeah.
America, Israel seems to be able to fight wars very quickly. What is your secret? Because we don't seem to have the hang of that.
The secret is that we have America.
Nah.
אתה רואה אור בקצה המנהרה? כן, אני בוודאי רואה אור בקצה המנהרה. אני לא מאמין שהמלחמה עם ערבים, אני חושב שהערבים בסופו של דבר הם בני אדם. הם לא יתיחו את הראש בקיר לנצח. אבל אם הם רואים בקיעים בקיר, אם הם רואים שחלק מהקיר נהרס, אז ודאי שימשיכו, ויסייעו להם כל העולם. לכן מה שדרוש כרגע זה לעמוד מול הדבר הזה, לעצור את הרעה, ופשוט להתלכד ולהתאחד כדי שישראל תעבור את המכשול הזה, ואין לי ספק שיכולה לעמוד. אבל אנחנו הולכים למסלול התנגשות עם הממשל האמריקאי.
ארצות הברית זה לא מקשה אחת, זה לא מקשה אחת. יש את הסנאט, יש את הקונגרס, יש את הכוח היהודי שהוא עצום, יותר חזק משהיה אי פעם. יש דעת קהל, יש לנו כוחות כבירים בדעת הקהל שמתנגדים למדיניות הזאת, גדולי הפרשנים. אמריקה לא תכפה לנו דבר אם לא נרצה בכך.
They think it will break us. The main thing, first of all, is to hit them. Not just one blow, but blows that are so painful that the price would be too heavy to be borne. The price is not too heavy to be borne now. A broad attack brings to the point of being afraid that everything is collapsing. Wait a moment. But then the world will say, how come you're conquering again? The world won't say a thing. The world will say, we're defending. Are you afraid of the world? Maybe, especially today with America. I know what America is. America is something that can easily be moved to the right direction. He's right about that.
Yeah, we got to work on this popcorn reading. If you're gonna pop in, you got to tell me.
Huh? Oh, sorry. They won't get in our way. Just really fast. Let's say something. They said 80% of Americans support us. That kind of support. You're saying, what will we do with the administration was extremely pro-Palestinian. I wasn't afraid to move there. I was not afraid to clash with Clinton. I was not afraid to clash with the UN. So
they're not afraid.
You can see that the propaganda machine runs deep with freaking Israel. And like, I mean, I think it's really obvious at this point where, especially even with just what we're doing right now, but it's just so black and white that Israel, like Zionism, is a pretty defenseless political ideology, like without without the propaganda, people would immediately be aware that Zionism is fucking awful. You know, without the freaking decades of indoctrination and gulping this Kool-Aid, like there's no way that Zionism would resist. There's no way.
Well, it's not. That's the thing. It's like Zionism doesn't affect just Israel. It's literally the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
We have Zionists all over the place. I mean, especially in New York City. We'll get to the rallies. How about we get to the rallies and then we'll wrap up with the false flag stuff.
Okay.
But so I went to New York this past 2 days. Obviously, there was a lot of people going out, and this a reporter about like 700 people. It was organized mostly by like, you know, I know it's a lot. Like I know it's like DSA, PSA. I don't really care.
It doesn't
like,
matter.
I view it. I view it the same way as like the Rage Against the War Machine situation. Like I will organize with anyone to do good, and this is like
the point is to be anti-war. The point isn't to be partisan,
right?
You know, it's like support Palestine. It doesn't matter that like you don't totally jive with freaking PSL or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's why like you know I'm people are starting to like Claudia. I kind of like because she's the only one who's like kind of like on this issue.
Yeah, she was the only one as far as that's
rally.
Yeah. Oh, she organized it. Okay.
Yeah, she was part of the. She was part of like one of the lead organizations who organized this. Of course, in every single New York City pro-Palestine event, you have to have your share of fucking insane, unhinged Zionists. Of
course.
On the side.
Even have to divide the guys.
It was just a big wall, like a big wave, about like 20 to like 40 cops. And then one side was Israel, and one side was.
What was the ratio to Zionists?
It was maybe like, how many of these people? These people didn't follow them all the way. There maybe like 100 Israel to like 7. It's like a 1-to-7 ratio. Like yeah, it was at least a 1-to-5 ratio.
That's good.
I would at least say a 1-to-5. Or like every Israeli protester, there was 5. And yes, there's probably a lot of feds in there too.
That's
I would not have it down in my mind there's feds. We're actually to show a little bit of that. So
but yeah.
they're just yelling, screaming into the void.
It's so weird. It's almost like they like decided to put you guys like facing each other on purpose just to get you guys like all divisive and yelling at each other. Huh?
Yeah, I'm wondering what that was about too.
It's that it looks like they're trying to freaking make the protest less about the Palestinian struggle and more about arguing with Zionists.
I don't know what the permit situation was for this, or like who the cops were, like, you know, kind of, but like it was mostly kind of like, you know, they were just fencing both sides. That's completely
so ridiculous.
No one can move, no one can go past it. This was literally like.
But they think you guys are gonna start throwing fists at each other, probably, huh?
Well, some of that happened. People got arrested. At least 5 people got arrested on the Israeli side. I swear to God, none of the Palestine
none of the people on the Palestine side.
No one on the Palestine side got. Does that reflect reality?
I know exactly.
Isn't that funny? They spent their entire
Palestina!
People are anti-Palestine is justified. I like that. I was just reading something.
Viva
I love that kid. He was saying "is not real," as in like
Israel's not real. Yeah.
They say they like. I met like a lot of Palestinian, like a lot of New York Palestinian protesters. A lot of them were saying that. Like that's like their line, which is really funny. So it's like
Israel's not real. Well, that's like we were saying in the beginning.
No, that's what they that's what they chanted them. They like they make fun of them by saying like Israel. It's not real. They call them is not real.
I love it.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Imagine being a cop.
This is the Israelis. I don't know what they're chanting. It's like the Israelis are going off right now. You have a sign that's backwards that says "Save Israel." I want to show how. Look at this lady. Look how unhinged she is.
She's doing the meme.
She's going fucking terrorist. Fuck you, fucking terrorist.
She's just missing the pink hair.
These people are insane. Pure
Some good footage though. This was all right around Times Square.
Like, huh?
This was all around Times Square.
So this is East Fort. Yeah, this is They started in Times Square. They're going down towards the. This is like near the Israeli embassy. This is like
gotcha.
This is more like downtown. Did you say you lived in New York at some point?
I lived in Jersey until I was like 10, so I'm like kind of I'm kind of familiar with. I used to go to New York a bit, but I'm kind of familiar with the area. But I never lived in the city.
Fucking maniacs. Did you hear him?
No, what did he say? I couldn't make out what he was saying.
He said, your land is going to be dust.
Oh my God.
This guy right here.
These people are crazy, man.
Yes, this is my footage. Mantis. Thank you.
Your land is going to be dirt.
He was saying that several times.
That's crazy.
We saw what happened. Fuck you. We saw what happened. All you can do is burn buildings and kill kids.
Habibi, it's not worth it. We have to go.
يا جماعة بنتحرك يلا هيك. Hey everyone. 700. Palestine.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry, Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for coming out.
The Zionist state crumbling in front of us.
You had a lot of support for all over the world. Turkey, Yemen,
I had some from Madrid. Oh, it looks like
Lebanon.
Yeah.
الصهيوني عدو الله الصهيوني عدو الله كلا كلا للتطبيق كلا كلا للتطبيق كلا كلا
Iraq, Jordan. I saw London.
Yeah, I saw one from Madrid.
You can tell it's like a very divided issue. Here's a scene from Washington D.C.
It's like Surat.
The only thing these people know is violence. The only thing they know
and raves. Waiting for the freaking paragliders to come in.
That guy's a maniac. Pretty crazy.
It's only the Zionists who have the freaking American flags. I think that's kind of funny.
No, but most of them are MAGA, actually.
Yeah, that makes sense. The people who are kind of pretend to be against the Ukraine war, but they always support Zionism.
They're pretty overwhelmed. I'm telling you, like the support. It's like I said, the supportive ratio, like from Israel to Palestine, is
so
probably.
I mean, you've been in the city for a minute. Like, do you think it's like more people are in support of Palestine than in the past?
Oh, it's a 1-to-5 ratio. Yeah, 100%.
That's good. I mean, people are waking up.
This is look. Check out. This is the other scene from New York City where they stole the flag from the guy who jumped up.
Oh yeah.
He got arrested. He just got arrested.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So he got so mad over a flag. This is how mad he got over a flag. That motherfucker! Did you see he's jumping like a fucking maniac? I saw all of this happen in real time. You can probably find me in there.
So, did you see the same kind of stuff for any of like the Ukraine-Russia protests, where you'd have
I don't know. I've never been at a Ukraine protest. I don't protests that are worthwhile.
Well, no, I'm not sure. Like you go or like an anti-war, but you see a bunch of people with Ukraine flags show up, kind of like the same thing.
Oh yeah. So, that usually happens.
So it's like people.
But it's
people
usually
do
not a
faction
lot.
shit.
That's a lot less, but like that's usually like more. I don't know. This is
Zionists are a special breed of crazy when it comes to protesting.
New York is a special breed of crazy. Yeah, that's basically where we're at.
That's what it looks like.
But I'm proud. Regardless. I'm proud of this group because it's like we said. I don't think Israel. That's a sign of victory.
Some good footage, man. Good job.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, predictably were really pissed off about this. I saw
Pissed off about.
I saw a couple of major cities, like the mayor, like towns of mayors, like going around and like saying like that, you know, this is a Nazi rally. I saw one with Dave Rubin. Here's Richie Torres,
Mm-hmm.
who I feel like they're purposely trying to tie this to the DSA, which
a hate rally.
Not a DSA rally.
Unbelievable.
Really not. No, it's they held a hate rally from the river to the sea, which is a code for wiping Israel off the face of the earth. This is how they interpret everything.
I mean, well, okay. So I mean, it's a pretty cynical interpretation of the phrase "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Like that's like it's a pretty bad, like, yeah, okay. I mean, you're not wrong per se, but that's like a pretty bad way of framing it. And I don't know. It's like, yeah, the DSA is calling for the destruction of the Jewish state amid the largest single-day massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. So, you know, as we said earlier, it's not so much a religious dispute as a political one. So it's just more dishonest propaganda. I have been warning for years about the deep rot of anti-Semitism at the core of the DSA and its enablers. There's no denying it anymore. What does that even mean? So it's just, that's all they got. That's all they got is like, if you don't toe the line for Israel and Zionism, you're an anti-Semite. Of course, it's like, it's not like there aren't any Semites who are Arabic, you know. So what the fuck?
I'm currently going through Dave Rubin's timeline to find. Oh, here it is.
You found it.
Well, here's one. Robert Malone.
Oh God, where's he stand on it?
Torturing and kidnapping innocent civilians.
Oh, are you just looking through more stuff?
They called it a Nazi rally. Hold on.
Oh.
Whatever, it's not worth it. Stay fucking.
Yeah, exactly.
Canada, the mayor and one of the mayor of I don't know specifically where.
Let's see. This was okay. The government of Canada has rightly listed Hamas as a terrorist organization, and we simply must not tolerate any support of terror. Full stop. The rally to support Hamas at Nathan Phillips Square today is unsanctioned, without a permit, and I equivocally denounce it. Glorifying this weekend's indiscriminate violence, including murder and kidnapping of women and children by Hamas against Israeli civilians, is deplorable. I'm receiving updates from the chief of police who assures me they will investigate and address any suspected incidents of hate. Okay, so they're criminalizing protesting in Canada. Where's Himbo? Where's Himbo? Jesus Christ!
I mean, so now it's terrorists.
Now it's hate speech to protest.
There's no doubt in my mind there were feds here.
I mean, I would assume it's just the way it works now, right?
So, what's your opinion on this? They definitely, again, they're trying to tie this as like Democrats hate Palestine too.
Yeah.
So they're purposely trying to tie this as like a pro-Democrat partisan propaganda, DSA hounding, but AOC did not support this at all.
No.
So this is really just straight up lie.
Like, I mean, like we said, the only person who shows even like tepid support for the Palestinians is Ilhan Omar, and all she gives is lip service.
People are making a big deal of this guy.
So, I mean, I think one of two things with this guy.
Probably a Fed.
It's either a plant or an idiot. Like,
what do you
unless he's trying to say everybody else is the Nazi.
Pick out one person in the crowd and make a big deal about it and call the whole thing a Nazi rally.
It's like what they did. It's like what they did with the trucker protests. One Nazi flag from one plant, and the entire thing became a freaking.
It's the same exact thing.
It's like
now it's the other side.
Flip out the freaking swastikas. It's come back.
Instead of the candidate, yeah, exactly. Instead of like the trucker protests with just one.
I was already getting called a Nazi for defending Palestine today on Twitter. So I guess the word has no meaning.
This is the road we're heading towards, folks.
Everybody's a Nazi if you don't support everything that the fucking government tells you to.
Listen, so it turns out that that wasn't the only Fed. Actually, on the pro-Israeli side, there was another Fed who was also at January 6th.
Oh, you're complaining to the cops. Look at them. The little terrorist Antifa's complaining to the cops again. The little terrorist Antifa's complaining to the cops.
I wouldn't engage in it, but you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Talia's always ratting to the cops. Yeah. Cry.
Leave me alone.
You should have left me alone.
No, it's not.
You're a terrorist supporter. You're a terrorist supporter, and you go back to the cops.
I have family in Israel.
You have nothing.
I support Hamas. How dare you? How fucking dare you?
Oh, you're complaining to the.
She's doing the I have a black friend thing. I support Israel because I have a friend there. Great. I love the mask outside in public.
She was at January 6th.
Huh? She was at.
No, maybe I read the tweet wrong. She was at January 6th. In a MAGA disguise? I don't know. Is this
Andy? No, I don't really.
Oh no, that's a right winger.
So
okay.
he's just being.
That's pro Israel showing. Mm-hmm. Okay. I thought that was interesting. Turns out it's
not. That's cool.
Here's London and Australia.
It's good that we're seeing some solidarity, and it looks like the ratio is the more average people are in support of Palestine than they are of Israel. So that's a good sign.
I would say it's about a 1 to 5.
It's good.
It's about around a 1 to 5.
Eventually there will come a point where the people don't agree with what the government's doing to such a degree that they'll, do what Palestine's doing. But, because you can't really have.
No, I haven't seen mobilization like this in a while. To me,
I mean, that's good. That's promising, right?
I didn't see this for Ukraine, but I think that's because this has kind of already been a conflict for in relation to the DSA side of left for.
I mean, the Palestinian struggle is kind of a for anybody who considers themselves to be on the left and have any sort of freaking solidarity for oppressed people. Palestine's always the first one on the top of the list. So
yeah,
anybody who's kind of aware of how significant the events are that have been taking place over the last few days, they're going to be galvanized by this much more than what the fuck's going on in Ukraine and Russia. People don't have any sort of because Ukraine, yes, there's the people in the Donbass and stuff like that, but that's not the same sort of stuff as what's going on in freaking Gaza,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I really think that we're seeing a global movement here. That's why I wanted to open up with this is not a sad. I mean, of course, war is bad. We're going to see atrocities.
I mean, it's I think it's really showing the two sides really kind of clearly. You're seeing the whole ass from the worst people on the planet, just trying to fucking feed your head full of bullshit when don't let your eyes deceive, don't let them deceive your eyes. People trying to argue that the carpet bombers and the oppressors are the good guys is just they're not living in reality, and it's really freaking clear at this point. So,
well, I mean, I feel like you have to be Jewish at this point in order to, or like have a relation to Israel, direct relation to Israel, in order to like have support. I mean, I just don't know how you can have like any sense of morality and like, unless you're like just gobbling news.
I mean, you're just gobbling MSM. I mean, I'm just trying to remember the time where I like. Was there a time where I supported Israel? I don't know. Probably when I was like really young and didn't know any better, and just like towed the line because that's what my parents were watching on TV. You know, so if you're only getting your news from TV, those are the people who are going to like support Israel for no problem. You know, anybody who does like 10 minutes of research and do their own freaking research will see like how much of a tragedy it is in Palestine. You know, because it's like the mask is off. It's really not that hard to be aware of what's going on. The information is so easily accessible at this point. You know,
but I'm just I mean, out of everything, I'm just like happy to see that there's able to be mobilization over something like this, and it's big enough to where like we're seeing again, it's not just another like a couple of like it's not like an attack this is again, like we like demonstrated, it's going to be taken seriously, and it's still being taken very seriously because I mean they probably spent an extensive amount of time training and planning this out, and this is supposed to be an historic moment. Like this is supposed to shift.
Well, yeah,
all the political chessboards for the next 20 years.
Well, that's kind of like what I was saying with like the fact earlier with the Hamas propaganda is that like Hamas obviously sees the historical significance of the events, and they don't want it to get memory hold by, you know, the Western powers. So they're recording this shit themselves. You know, they know if it wasn't for them doing their own propaganda and filming this shit, that like Western propaganda would be able to get ahead of it and kind of create their own narrative. You know, it's like was it fifth generation warfare or whatever it's called? You know, now that it's 2023 and me and you can see videos of freaking soldiers like live streaming what they're going through, and then we're able to see this shit on Telegram. Like there's no hiding the freaking atrocities that Israel has been committing anymore. You know, it's kind of like the same thing we saw in Ukraine to a different degree, you know, where it's like the Russian soldiers and the Ukrainian soldiers were taking out their cell phones and recording everything. Like that's something that's never happened prior to the start of the Ukrainian war, right? I don't really remember any wars in recent history, you know, didn't really happen in Afghanistan, didn't really happen in Iraq, where you had people filming the wars. You know, didn't happen in Syria, anything like that.
So jumping over that, then I want to bring in this conversation that sort of were stemmed off of Kit Clarenberg, who we'll watch this video a little bit, the quotes here, but
oh, did you? Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is okay. We'll play it. And
so there's a lot of
so much flailing, so much flailing.
We're running on 3 hours. I'm still tired, but man, let me hydrate.
It's all right. That's cool. So we got so much more content. So
yeah.
You guys should follow our freaking Telegram because there's so much content, because we're at 3 hours right now and there's so much more content that we have. Now we're either going to play it next week or start getting the community over on Telegram so we can show you guys all the crazy shit that we're seeing.
You're just post on Twitter. I might just
I might start doing that too, because I'm getting crazy engagement from posting stuff on Telegram onto Twitter.
But either way, like, so this sort of like a conversation that sort of like kind of sparked around, not necessarily this, but like I've heard people talking about how this is sort of like a planned attack to completely destroy Gaza, and that this was all framed in a way so that Israel can finally bring in the final strike. We just showed, I mean, I really think, like, in my opinion, that they're fairly desperate. But listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Cope, but we'll listen to it.
I agree too. But listen to these IDF soldiers' words.
October 7th, 2023. This is Efrat Fenigzon, and I'm here to share an update from Israel-Hamas war, which started this morning. I'm going to share some key details and concerns, mostly based on Israeli citizens' voices from the ground and based on official statements. This is a very tough day for me and for us in Israel, and it is tough for people of Palestine too, especially now that Israel is starting to attack back. This war and every war is a horrible thing for everyone involved, except for those who get rich from it, right? This morning, around 6 a.m., around sunrise, hundreds of Hamas terrorists, at least 300, breached the border fence in multiple places, completely unimpeded, leading to terror attacks and kidnappings in Israeli towns or villages. The terrorists infiltrated a significant number of dry land outposts, as well as a naval infiltration point in Zikim. As we speak, Israel is actively engaged in combat in 22 outposts. This is from the IDF statement, the official statement. The attacks have already resulted in over 100 casualties and more than 100 kidnaps of Israeli citizens. In one village, 50 Israelis have been taken hostage, leaving people locked in shelters for long periods of 8 to 9 hours without rescue. By the way, the 100 kidnappings is not the official number. It's what we hear from people on the ground. I think official numbers talk about 30 or 40 people, but we know there are more. In some places, the terrorists were burning the village, and people didn't know that Israel did not know of what's coming. Of underground barriers with sensors to alert exactly on these kind of terrorist breaches. Israel has one of the most advanced and high-tech armies. How come there was zero response to the border and fence breaching? I cannot understand that.
What do you think? Like with the bulldozer and everything.
I mean, okay.
How they get the bulldozer?
I mean, you saw what happened. Like they got their so I don't know the deal with the bulldozer, but like you saw that they took tanks, they took armored vehicles, they
had guns,
they took they took Humvees. You know, so here's the thing: is like these people are trying to argue that was allowed to happen, so Israel would have an excuse to turn Gaza into a parking lot. But you can't possibly, like, it's. I'm watching her like do mental gymnastics at the same time while she's talking about how IDF had all these soldiers that were captured. Oh, all these freaking outposts and bases got captured. All these military outposts got taken, but it was allowed to happen. Like, no, you guys are incompetent and you guys got played. You know, like, again, I think it kind of goes back to their indoctrination. What the Israelis think of the Palestinians is that they think they're subhuman and they're not capable of an uprising. You know, you saw they made homemade freaking motorized paragliders to go over the freaking walls. Like we have, you saw how fast
they had guerrilla warfare technology.
Like, did you see when it happened at like the middle of the night? So I don't know if you were already asleep at that point, but when that shit first started happening, they took the settlements around Gaza in the immediate vicinity like that. Within like a couple hours, they had already taken like a number of places around Gaza. So they were working extremely fast, extremely efficiently, and extremely professionally. And
they're even farther now.
Yeah, they're all the way past Tel Aviv. It's crazy.
Let me pull that one up too. Like, but
there's that Rybar video.
In the meantime, like, here's another one that's like sort of like another IDF soldier sort of like corroborating that real quick.
Share this movie as much as you can.
תקשיבו רגע, אני
שירתתי כסמב"צית חי"ר במהלך מלחמת צוק איתן, אני שירתתי בפלוגת עזה, כל השירות שלי היה תומכת לחימה בזמן מלחמת צוק איתן שאז הייתה באוגדת עזה. תקשיבו לי ותקשיבו לי טוב. אין בעולם יכולה להיות כזאת התקרבות לגדר, אוקיי? מבלי שאנחנו לא נדע מזה. התצפיתניות יושבות בבונקרים 4 שעות, הן לא יכולות לעשות ככה. הן מול צו
שום מצב שהיו מעירים אותי בלילה על יונה, על חסידה שקרבה לגדר, על מקק שעבר מתחת לגדר, היו מקפיצים את כל הגזרה. איך נכנסו עם טרקטורים, איך נכנסו עם טרקטורים, 400 איש ואף אחד לא שם לב. זה לא שתפו את הסרט.
That's Cope. That's Cope.
It's all Israeli Cope?
That's an IDF reservist trying to make sense of their incompetence. You know, I saw a thing yesterday.
Whoever is saying that this conflict is ending in like some sort of demise for Hamas, I mean, look, they so far from what we've seen are extremely successful, and I think not only is the West surprised, but pretty much the entire world did not understand that they had this capability.
No, they were completely unprepared for it. And I was reading something yesterday from, I don't know if it was somebody had like some sort of like Russian last name. I don't know who it was, like whether it was like Russian or one of those countries in that region. But they were basically like, yeah, it's not surprising that IDF got caught with their pants down when you see that their TikTok is a bunch of like e-girls and dancing and all this stuff that kind of is antithetical to kind of military professionalism. So it doesn't surprise me that this happened. And then you look at the kind of shit that IDF does. They're not like, what do? They beat the shit out of innocent people and they bomb the shit out of innocent people. They don't really engage in conflict regularly against other like armed combatants. They're always going after defenseless people. So yeah, they're always going to look like really dangerous motherfuckers. But turns out that when they actually have to go toe to toe against military, they are completely defenseless. I know we're running on so much time at this point, but like one of the videos that Hamas put out is them taking over a military base, and you see how easy it was for them. I don't want to say easy, but like it looks like they were met with very little resistance. And it just seems like with these videos that I'm seeing that it was one of those situations where Hamas probably stormed these outposts and stormed these military bases, and IDF immediately went, I surrender, or got shot. That's how they got dozens of freaking POWs. And that's the other thing. They have so many POWs, okay, that every single Palestinian in Israel jails will be released. Okay, there was, I think in 2011, Palestine traded one soldier for over 1,000 Palestinians. So they have more than enough to release any Palestinians behind bars. You have that tweet of that officer getting captured. Like these are not things that were allowed to happen. Too many things went wrong for that conspiracy, in my opinion, to hold any water.
Israel's army is, I feel like they've kind of gotten complacent with their oppression.
Absolutely.
At this point. And a lot of the people in Israel are like, they're not like tasteful to murder. They're not used to death. They're not used to these conditions. So they've sort of gotten a little bit too comfortable. There's a lot of...
That's what I mean. I don't think they got much resistance at these places. And if they did, they got shot. And if they didn't, they came... That's why they have so many prisoners, dude. Like, IDF was not in it, wasn't willing to die for fucking state of Israel. They were like, take me. Like...
And...
So that's where I'm at with that. And look, and since Fiorella posted this, they have since reached West Bank, so they've connected that whole piece.
There's something to be said about sort of like the emotion, like the taste for war, or like the taste for like revenge versus. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that revolutionary. Like,
well, yeah, was it? Like, didn't Ali say something to that matter where basically the Israelis, the colonists, the people who don't have any indigenous right to the land, aren't willing to die for Israel. They're not. They're
no, but how many? Yeah, no, like how many people have you seen? Like how many times have you seen like in a war footing scenario where like there's like an actual like injustice or like. I mean, there's also times in history where we've seen a lot of like decolonization happen in real time.
Right.
Not real time, but like in the past, but.
I mean, Hamas still has a long fight ahead of them, but you can see. I'm looking through our freaking DMs trying to see if I can find that. I thought I sent you something that was like a 2-minute clip of kind of all the area that they've taken. This is the oh, whoops, that's the wrong thing. This is the tweet with the officer that was captured, general. So way the fuck up there. So yeah, that was allowed to happen, guys. According to Western Cope, that was allowed to happen. Okay.
She's claiming that this is a planned Western attack.
25 years ago in the intelligence forces. There's no way, in my view, that Israel did not know of what's coming. A cat moving alongside the fence is triggering all forces. So what happened to the strongest army in the world? How come border crossings were wide open? Something is very wrong here. Something is very strange. This chain of events is very unusual and not typical for the Israeli defense system.
Yeah, no shit.
With the recent normalization efforts of Israel and Palestine led by Saudi Arabia, I wonder whether a prisoners exchange deal is something that could only be seriously considered by Israel if a shocking event like that happened. Is it a possibility that only with Israel hostages it can be justified to release dangerous prisoners from Israeli prisons? I don't know. Mainstream media reported that Deputy Hamas leader Salah al-Aruri suggests using Israeli prisoners for leverage in negotiations.
Well, I mean, that's a given, but...
A point about the situation in Israel in the past few years, which I want to make, is related to, and those who follow me know that there's a general sense of insecurity in Israel. There's political and social instability and unrest. Public funds are being misused on agendas such as COVID, climate, judicial reform, abolishing cash, and many more. The current government is highly corrupt in my view, while the previous one was no better. I don't care about having a popular opinion. I care about exposing evil forces wherever and whomever they are. So to me, this surprise attack seems like a planned operation on all fronts. This is a failure to protect the people of Israel, for sure. Perhaps the biggest failure since the Yom Kippur War exactly 50 years ago, if not bigger. By the way, is it a coincidence it's exactly 50 years ago, almost on the day? The Yom Kippur War was on October 6, 1973. If I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say that this feels like the work of the deep state. It feels like the people of Israel and the people of Palestine have been sold once again to the higher powers that be. At the same time, this is still
the oppressor cannot believe,
difficult to fathom.
Yeah, you just cannot believe that these people that you've considered subhuman your entire life are capable of overtaking your country. Fuck out of here. It's like just the narcissism of these people. I'm sorry, like I just don't. These people are living a fantasy, and like I just, it's obvious to me that IDF is incompetent. The other thing is that the date was not random. Okay, it was during Sukkot, and it was during Sabbath. So you think you got these like this military that already is kind of like not really with it and has been really careless, as you said, like in recent years. Just being lazy. Like, oh, they're on the Sabbath during a holiday on the Sabbath, Sukkot. I don't know anything about it. But they were probably especially lazy at that night. So it would make sense that, they probably like did a bunch of prayers and were like, yo, I'm sorry, Allah, that we're going to be freaking attacking Israel on the Sabbath, but it's got to be done, you know. So I don't know. I don't buy any of this cope, dude.
I don't think anyone. I think most people that you listen to, like the people who are very on top of this, like Richie Medhurst.
Yeah.
Again, like the few people who think Hamas operation was allowed to happen should calm their nerves and just accept Israel was humiliated by a successful and elaborate intelligence and military operation. Not the first time a colonizer was humiliated. See the Ted Offensive, I'm not going to pronounce that, but
yeah,
you get it. I mean, there's really there's no reason to undermine the Hamas forces. This is big. This is we're witnessing.
I mean, good for Hamas if Israel wants to keep pretending that they're not as powerful as they are, because they'll just continue to freaking like make no work of freaking IDF. You know, it'll be easy for them. So, you know, if they can keep milking it out, being like, yeah, we are just a bunch of subhuman slaves who have no idea what we're doing. Yeah, just, you know, keep thinking that, Israel. So
I mean, they're currently getting fucked right now. So, I mean, from the results of this, the only thing that we're seeing is Israel bombing everyone that they know has their eye on them, and once they have Iran on the dot, in their like eyesight, it's like it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was it Iran? One of the countries said that as soon as the U.S. starts,
I have that. Yeah.
Okay, you do have that. Yeah, because they've already been. Some of these countries have already been very clear that as soon as the U.S. starts either putting boots on the ground or supplying weapons to Israel or supplying air support to Israel, like it's over. You know, it's a world war. And if
I only have the Iranian president saying that he.
Is this which one is this?
I think it's just them saying that he has a legitimate defense of the Palestinian people.
I mean, you can play that, but I thought I saw something else. I mean, I've been looking at so much crap the last few days. I haven't kept up with all of it, but you know, there's definitely the U.S. has been warned because there's an U.S. aircraft carrier sitting off the coast of Israel, saying, and like these Middle Eastern countries have basically said that like if the U.S. starts like meddling, starts actively participating in this, then the other countries are going to get involved. You know, not just Lebanon.
Oh yeah, Lebanon said that.
It was Lebanon that said it. Okay.
So Lebanon said that this morning. They said that So Lebanon and Iran, if anyone thinks that Israel can like turn Gaza into dust and then just get away with it, they're very, very totally mistaken.
Dude, like
they will nuke the fuck out of Israel. It's not even a question.
Like, and that was like another thing that it was like really quick response from seeing all these other neighboring countries being like, we're with Palestine, just kind of showed that like everybody who already knew that Israel was the bully was like, all right, we're vindicated now because there's all these other countries that are like, yeah, we're ready to freaking like erase Israel and let Palestine have their land back. So
this is history. This is a global movement, and I'm mostly just it's kind of cool to be witnessing it.
Oh, I mean, we're witnessing history, so I'm glad that I'm glad I'm awake now to see all this stuff that's happening, because like I said, like we're seeing like video footage. I'm able to go on Telegram and literally look at
we have the internet too, so we can like see it all happen.
We're seeing it all happen. Like, so you have to kind of be willfully ignorant to like just toe the line because it's so readily available. Like you can see everything for yourself. So
I just don't think it's appropriate for people to get down on this or to feel like this is a victory. This is a victory, and people are, you know, many people.
No, people should be really hopeful about it. Hopeful about it, because like the worst case scenario would have been that we saw those freaking paratroopers, you know, go over the fence, and then they were like, taken out immediately, and like an hour later, IDF was like, "Oh yeah, a bunch of Hamas jumped the border and we shot them and took care of it. It's over." But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. It turned into Hamas fucking kicking ass and taking names. So it's really fucking exciting. So
yeah, and notice how like the production value on the Hamas side is 100 times better than the
dude. It's so much better. Do you have that? I put the because I think we're probably getting ready to wrap things up, but I put in the private chat the drone video that they had because I thought that one was pretty badass.
You sent me a message, like not a.
Oh, it didn't. Okay, because it was from our chat, so you guys will just have to go in our chat then. Our private. All right, it was our DM chat, but that's all right. If we can go through another time if you want.
It's all the way back. I mean, we have this right here where Hamas is basically saying that Israel, any strikes on Gaza will be met with public execution.
Oh yeah. So this is the Hamas spokesperson. For which one is this? I think this is Al-Qassam. After multiple massacres, we regret and are sad to announce that every Israeli massacre or an attack without prior warning on Palestinian homes will be met with an execution of an Israeli captive, and we'll publish recording of each execution. And they fucking will. So nobody's fucking around. This was not allowed to happen.
I cannot find this trailer that you sent me.
So okay, it's the.
Where'd you send it to me?
It would have been from yesterday. I sent it to the DM in our DM chat on Twitter.
Okay, so go to the tweet.
Well, it was in our DM.
Yeah, but you can't link a DM tweet. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I know. So how do I?
It's like.
So how do I? Let me see. Maybe I can do this one. I don't know how to share it. It's just like it's from yesterday around 10. It's from yesterday at 10 o'clock at night, 10:22 p.m. Just scroll for.
It's all right. We'll just wrap it up. It's okay.
Or
I'm done.
Let me see if I can play it.
Edit it out. But do you have to send me the actual link?
Well, because it was a video that I just copied. I didn't post it on. I didn't make a tweet of it.
Oh, okay. So you can't do that. Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work like that. On Twitter, it doesn't work. It's like their own servers, like hosting. Like it would be if you posted the video, it would be different. But there you go.
Those are probably Iranian drones, just FYI. But these are the kamikaze drones. So, I just think the production value is definitely there. Let's see. Is there anything else?
Yeah, that's the crazy part. It's like,
let's see. What's this one?
You compare this to the Israeli propaganda, the 10-second thriller TikTok video that they had put together.
But I mean, this is just amazing to me. We're seeing history making, like in the making.
This is a COD trailer. This is a Call of Duty.
This is the new settlement map. Sorry. So yeah, like, dude, they just sweep these military outposts. We didn't even show all the videos of them taking the gear. They blew up some tanks. They've taken a lot of Humvees back to Palestine, back to Gaza. You know, they had their, I don't know how many prisoners they have. And remember, no Russian. See, look, they just fucking gave up, dude. These people are in a military base and they're in their fucking boxers and they just gave up like fucking pussies. Like, no, IDF is incompetent.
They're kids. They're like my age. They're like 25, probably. They don't give. They don't. They were just having a rave.
All right, so that's probably good on the freaking. I just wanted to show those couple clips because I like them. But yeah, it's history in the making, guys. This is like a really incredible, as you said, Greg. Like we should be hopeful and send good vibes to the people trying to liberate Palestine because they need the vibes.
People are trying to get their homes back. People who currently live in open air prison, who when they try to protest, they get shot. So whatever support whatever it means for them to get their indigenous rights back, which means running water and electricity,
sovereignty,
and treating them like
agency,
human fucking beings.
Yeah, not being treated as subhuman.
Then we can have peace. We can have peace then. Okay. So whenever we have Zionists I've dealt with plenty of them coming to. I've had Zionists
to deal with a few Zionists in my day.
Supporting terrorists. We're supporting resistance. We're supporting resistance against a terrorist occupier who is funded by the worst people and the worst countries, the most corrupt countries in the entire world, which includes the United States, which includes all of the Western, the British countries, the entirety of the West.
Yeah, I think it's it should be pretty obvious. I think there's maybe one or two people in the chat who feel otherwise, but it's pretty obvious who's on the right side of history here.
It's like 1 to 5. It's like 1 to 5. It's like a historical moment where it's like there's a lot of again, you're seeing a lot of cope. It's a lot of cope. I'm sorry, it's unfortunate, but Israel. I don't think Israel should exist. I don't think it should. I don't think it's a state.
Like we said in the beginning, it's a bunch of freaking white European colonists.
We showed the rabbi who is not in support of Zionism. We showed that Judaism is not Zionism. You can go back and watch. But there's a lot to behind this. And the state of Israel is not Judaism. The state of Israel is not being Jewish. The state of Israel is not your family. And the state of Israel it's not yours. It's fake. It's not real.
Israel is not real.
It's not real, like that kid said. It's not real. Get the Palestinians their land back. Get it all back. When they said when we were at the New York City at the New York City march, some chants I was hearing was we don't want 1948. We want it all.
That's like I was saying earlier, dude. Like it's not.
They want it all back.
We're past the point of waiting for a two-state solution. It's been like a two-state solution was possible was maybe like when I was like 10, 15 years old. It hasn't been like that for 20 years. I don't think anybody's taken the idea of a two-state solution seriously for 20 years or so. So this is Israel reaping what they sowed. This is them refusing to come to the table and being in good faith and wanting to oppress a population for almost a century. Like this is what they get. So and you don't see dozens of countries ready to get behind militarily with Israel like they are for Palestine.
It's really hard to have sympathy for Israel right now. My heart goes out to the innocent civilians who are
raving within a stone's throw of Gaza. I know.
I'll share sympathy for the non-Zionists that are in Israel, but I don't think there's a lot of them. Whoever believes in rights for Arabs in Israel, I think they deserve my sympathy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't. But do I believe that's happening to those people specifically? I don't know. So it's really lost on me here. All full support to Palestine. And if you're not supporting Palestine, you're on the wrong side of history. If you're not supporting Palestine, you're not anti-war. So that's just the reality. That's the reality.
The reality. And
you want to continue seeing Palestinian kids getting shot in the head. All they're asking is for some fucking clean water and electricity that goes on for more than 4 hours a day.
Like, and getting like not put on a diet.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. That's we didn't even have. I had a link that was tying the Israeli operation with like tied with Saudi Arabia to do 9/11 basically. But I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna go out and openly go after that. But this 3.5 hours is a good.
Yeah, and you can bet that this is going to escalate.
This is ongoing.
This is going to like for the foreseeable future, months if not years. This is going to be taking place. So, and now that I'm like really using Telegram a lot more, I hope to have a lot more kind of content you're not going to see on other social media because I'm trying to branch out and find some more unique stuff.
Yeah, Palestine and Israel, they used to live in peace. Like, actually, Palestinians used to protect the Israelis from the British forces, like that way back in I think the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to live in peace. It wasn't until this concept of Zionism that we have, we created the state of Israel. It's a reflection on World War II. It's all a political game. It's not. It has nothing to do with being Jewish. It has nothing to do with Judaism. It's the state of Israel. It's not real. It's not real.
It's not real.
It's a fake country. It's a fake proxy
really
country.
It's entirely colonized.
Used to devote the interest of the United States within the Middle East. That's all it is.
There was like an expression that Max Blumenthal used to use about calling it like the U.S. Like base in the desert or something like that. I don't know. There was some expression about anyway, I can't think of it right now, but yeah, Israel exists mainly as a, base for U.S. and Western military. Like if it wasn't a strategic location, Israel would not exist. It's goes back to what Biden was saying. Like, if there wasn't an Israel, there would be an Israel because we would make it happen because we need a base there. So, but you can bet that this is going to be something we're going to be keeping more on top of. And obviously, you guys know our position on it, so we're going to be showing the side of the people who are going to be victorious, their point of view, their story. We don't want this shit to be memory hold in fucking years. We don't want the story being told by Westerners. We want it being told by the, people who lived through the struggle. So, yeah, I guess that's about it.
All right. Hope you have a good Monday, guys. We're going to keep it on this. This is an important story. Again, another global geopolitical shift that is happening on
really
a
huge mask off moment for the fascists out there. Just enormous mask off moment for IDF incompetence. And it's just going to keep getting worse. It's just going to keep getting worse.
You'll see. You'll see who really. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jordan.
Last minute 5 from Jordan Deck here. Nothing but to love the INN fam. Feast. That's an emoji that it's not going to read on Restream, but thank you so much. God bless, Jordan.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
The INN fam. Yes, of course. Yeah, make sure if you're not currently to, liking, comment, subscribe, share the stream with your friends and family online, wherever you can, because the support helps.
And one more link to our Telegram.
Yep, we have you linked to Telegram before. We have the INN March. We have everything is on INN.network, including a merch store. So I think we're trying. We've been like talking about an Agile prop store for like a while. Whenever I can find time, work, you can do that.
I know. I'm definitely. I got stuff loaded up. I just haven't like printed up. I got so much stuff. I'm like ready to get on top of. I've just been distracted a little bit.
Exciting stuff. Thanks for coming out, fam.
Appreciate all of you guys. Take care. We'll see